everybody, and welcome into the Unity Clash season that's going on here. We have brought the stream back. We had a few technical issues going on previously, but here I am, Spartan Tano, alongside my good buddy, it's me, Fu. How are you doing today, Fu?
I'm doing good. I know it's getting quite late where you are, and it's very early where I am. So let's bring everyone some action for those folks watching at home. We've got a smasher of a first set to go. Gen 5 against Yatagarasu. I can't wait.
Yeah, I mean, Yatagarasu is already a really good team that we know about, but I do believe they just previously lost their previous set that went all the way down to the wire there, Fu. So they're going to be wanting to really come out in this one feeling like they need to claw back some of their determination, really. But they're against Gen 5, one of the most well-renowned teams in EU at the moment that is really making a statement for themselves. And I believe they've just got, is it Soreu back? I may have got that wrong, but they... Kranix, that's it, yes, from Koma, yes. And I believe Kranix is going to be playing today. So what an opportunity for them to make a statement in this tournament here.
Yeah, that's exactly right, and I think Soreu went to Komai, so it was kind of a switch of the players. And don't forget, for everyone watching at home as well, we've got 34 teams that entered into this tournament. We're only looking for the top 8 from the Swiss rounds today. They're going to be, I think, if I'm correct, 6 rounds of Swiss, and whoever makes it down top 8 from the Swiss rounds will go into double elimination tomorrow, and obviously going through with a BO5 Grand Final. So we're going to be bringing you guys the action tomorrow as well. But for today, these teams need to go through 6 pretty grueling, I think, rounds. Because it is Swiss, right? You're going to be versing people or teams that are the same caliber in terms of performance in today's tournament. And then it really gets down towards the end where you've got teams that haven't lost a lot of games at all going up against the exact same type of situation on the other side. So, I mean, it's great that we're broadcasting the rounds 4, 5, and 6, because this is, like you said, this is going to be some really good games, I think.
Yeah, 100%. And as we mentioned about the games, so me and you were doing the EU weeklies yesterday, and we saw, due to the patch changes, a lot of Pokemon coming into the game that we aren't used to. Gatlu played Gengar twice, and they absolutely cooked on it. So these patch changes as well is what's going to make this tournament so exciting, because I personally believe they may have slightly overtuned some of these speedsters a little bit, and we've actually been seeing people ban Talonflame coming into these tournaments. So that's really interesting for you, because it's going to open up those other picks that you expect to be banned. Umbreon, Blissey, those kind of picks that you're like, it's probably going to be banned, right? They now have access to those things because people are prioritizing those speedsters, right?
Right, I think it was really wild to see, something like a Blissey Umbreon get through pretty easily. So is Intel Miraidon, but I guess it's kind of scary if you're playing attackers nowadays, right? Because how strong speedsters are, and if you're not careful when a Talonflame maybe gets to fly a little bit early on in the game, it makes it so incredibly hard for you to actually play and scale back your levels as well. Another Pokemon that really benefited from the patch was Snorlax, Tano, so I'm keen to see whether any of these teams will pick it up.
100%, but here we go. We're going into the first game here, buddy, and it's Gen 5 versus Yatagarasu, as we mentioned. And as I say it, Talonflame straight banned out of it.
Yeah, Gen 5 is like, whoa. We're not going to see any of this bird in this game. And it seems like Yatagarasu is going to go for more of a typical Inteleon ban. I'm keen to see, oh my god, without a hesitation, Tano, it goes to double Speedstar banned out from Gen 5.
I mean, that really just is a statement on how strong these species are right now. We do see Inteleon and Miraidon getting banned out on the side of Yatagarasu, so those range attackers still feeling like they've got some viability in this. They do have a bit of maneuverability in them, so I could understand that. And then Gen 5 are just going to lock in the Umbreon pick straight from the get-go. This is what we talk about here, Fu. Blissey's available to be picked up. We've got these really strong defenders that can be picked up as well. These bans are so interesting.
They really are, and I think Blissey going on the side of Yatagarasu is important here, especially since, the other side took Umbreon. Now, Soreu used to play I think it was either the central area or the defender, depending on which Pokemon it was, and he normally played a lot of Umbreon. It seems like Kranix is going to pick that up for their team in this case, and Megu picking up the Aegislash as well. And don't forget Psyduck. I mean, I personally forgot about this Pokemon, which is normally very picked early, and it seems like they've got them both here, Umbreon and Psyduck for Gen 5.
the Mewtwo Y. We saw that in quite a bit of action yesterday as well, especially when you have those Inteleons and Miraidons getting banned out of it. So Gen 5 are building themselves a really nice roster here. They are going to go for the all-rounders. Are we going to lock in Utao on the Absol? We know how comfortable Utao is on that Pokemon, Fu, and that's what they're going to go for here.
It definitely just makes sense, right? Especially since Absol has gotten that new buff to it in terms of the penetration of the defense. If you're already good at that Pokemon, I feel like you would just jump at it. Something interesting is I didn't expect Mew, especially like X-Species Mew, to pick up so early. Don't know whether they're taking away from Lunda or something like that, but I think Lunda is very happy on the Mewtwo Y.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have a Charizard as well. That's really interesting. Yotch taking that there for Yatagarasu. We don't see much of that Pokemon anymore. Even though the Unite move is probably still a really strong Unite move in this game, I feel like there's just other all-rounders that are probably battling it out for better positions in this game so far. But this is interesting, Fu. I'm excited to see how Charizard works this. It's going to be pretty good against Utao, to be fair, with the Seismic Slam, and especially against Lunda as well.
The only caveat to that is that Charizard takes a bit of time to come online, right? And the fact that they also have a Blaziken to kind of like babysit for a little bit, it makes it going to be a little bit hard, especially going up against an Absol in the early game. So I think for Yatagarasu, it's all about holding on for the first maybe 5 minutes or so, get those levels, get those evolutions. And I think maybe this is where the Mamoswine comes in. It's going to be a carry Mamoswine because of the experience share Mew. And if you can, you know, kind of help your Swine up, get online maybe on that Ice Fang stage early on, that means that the Absol won't really get to play the game as well, and you can really help out, you know, maybe your Torchic Combusken get into that Blaziken stage, or maybe even the Charmeleon into that Charizard range, and then I think your life could be a little bit easier.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, but it does feel like the early game may be slightly easier for Gen 5 here, and that's difficult because of the fact that Absol is one of those species where if it does snowball, you're going to have a really tough game. But here we go, we're headed into the first game of this set for round 4. It's Gen 5 on your purple side, Yatagarasu on your orange side.
So Utao going to the central area, as we expect. Now, Absol can clear this area very, very fast, and even faster than a Charmander that's going to go inside of Yatagarasu. So you do expect an early ambush, I think, in one of these parts.
That you do. It's going to be difficult down in this lane. Of course, Ebus there on that spin up. It's so difficult to go up against in the lane. They just want to continue to drop this damage onto Chronic, see if they can get a KO. But Eevee, especially the Umbreon Eevee, is so tough to do so. But with that boosted from Tint, the Electro Ball goes in. They're still not able to pick up that KO yet, Fu. But this is just showcasing how aggressive Yatagarasu want to be.
Yeah, a ton of damage coming out from a Swine-Up Mew combo. We've got to have a nice secure on that top path there for Yatagarasu, and they're going to be looking at that level 5 region. Obviously, Torchic still needs a little bit more. It seems like Utah has selected the top path here for the ambush.
Is it going to be Night Slash? Is it going to be Pursuit? I'm hoping it's Night Slash. That's my favorite build, but Utah is an absolute goat on Pursuit. Absol, we'll have to keep a close eye on that one, buddy, but here comes the 850s. We've got Charmeleon down here as well. They've got their Mega on the Mewtwo Y. They're just going to be able to drop a huge amount of damage here, but all of that farm has gone to the side of Yatagarasu. They're going to continue to push onto this pad, see if they can score these points, which isn't going to be easy against a Mega Mewtwo Y. Mew is very weak, and they do fall. Oh my god, as if we're watching the film before our eyes here through Mewtwo defeats Mew, sorry.
It's kind of like a canon event, I think, from Gen 5, able to pick up some important KOs. Interestingly, the Torchic came down and actually got value from evolving because they did get a stack in, but that left the poor little Blissey up top to defend for themselves. And the scores are going to be in favor of Gen 5 so far, and it seems like the red buff could have been taken from Utah as well, so this Charmeleon is having a little bit of trouble early on.
This is going to be tough for Yatagarasu because we have a level 7 Absol coming in. It is Pursuit. They've got their Psycho Cut as well. 51 points on the board. It does seem like Yatagarasu, though, are going to be able to pick up the side up here. No, they're not. There comes Utah. There's the Psycho Cut. Are they going to be able to pick up any KOs? Umbreon can. Kranix protecting Utah, picking up that KO. In the meantime, Lunda's going to continue to throw this damage in on this Mewtwo Y. They're so weak on the side of Yatagarasu. Blissey falls back to the Pokemon Center for you, and Seabus ain't going to make it out either.
No, they're not, and that's just the power of Mega Mewtwo Y, right? Just the ability to just hold your A button down and dish out so much damage, even from the get-go. And we do have another 2v1 now, the Blissey Safeguard coming in time, and a nice little secure on the red buff will mean Yosh actually gets value from that, evolving to Charizard.
Yeah, that's exactly where they want to be. Level 8, not too far from that Unite move. We are just about to get these first objectives spawning onto the field. We have the majority of Yatagarasu in this top lane, with Sazero here on side up, just being able to cause a distraction. It does seem like Yatagarasu want to concentrate on this top lane, buddy. And with the sword fight guard coming on out, are they going to be able to pick up you? Yes, they can. They want more, though. Here comes Lunda. Absol has ripped the Reggie Rock. That's a free real estate for Utah. Charizard trying to close them down, but here in this top lane, wow, Yatagarasu have to retreat. The aggression from Gen 5 is too much, Fu.
Yeah, it's getting a little bit too much, right? They don't really break with a lot of overcap, but importantly, it sets up a better path for this Regieleki to walk into, and it puts a little bit of pressure now onto that top path. But meanwhile, in the bottom path, things aren't looking too good for Yatagarasu either. Utah gets a KO streak of 2, and they get a massive 40 plus 10 in 50 score in this bottom path there. And I mean, the pressure has ramped up significantly now. But we do have a Charizard Unite available, and Blaziken is going to be at level 8 as well. So we expect a fairer fight, I think, in the next skirmish.
Yeah, and I do think Yatagarasu need to make sure that they take this next fight together. They need to get some important KOs here, buddy. They're at risk of being snowballed on the side of Gen 5. Level 12 on Utah already. All of this farm is getting taken by Gen 5. They're not able to grab their own. It makes it difficult. We do have Kranix there trying to run away. There's the Midnight Slash, though. Oh, it picks up Yorch. That's so unfortunate. The Seismic Slam was not available for them to throw them away.
Oh, I mean, you can clearly tell that they were looking for it and waiting after the Unite move finishes. But when you're level 12 going up against a level 10, that Unite move can one-shot you, right? And unfortunately for Yoshi, he's going to have the Unite move for the next fight, which is maybe not too bad. And the next fight could be happening very, very soon, Tano, as this basement Reggie will be spawning in about 20 seconds. 5 team members, all 5 of them now, are ready in the bottom path there. And seems like Psyduck and Mewtwo Y coming in to help out. The Infant Cyber will go through immediately and chunks down everybody. Bliss Assistance just managed to save the Blaziken there, and they get a massive KO on Megu, as the Mew will also pop the Unite to kind of hide their teammate, as well as knocking out 3 members of Gen 5. What a turnaround for Yatagarasu.
That was fantastic play from Yatagarasu, especially the Bliss Assistance. That is what has enabled them to not only get some good KOs, break that goal, really cut down this score lead that Gen 5 has built themselves, and get a free Reggie Rock as well. I do like the fact that Utah is continuing to just go steal all that farm from the side of Yatagarasu. This is why Gen 5 are such a tough team, but they do clean up the Mamoswine as well. So despite all that, Gen 5 still managed to get at least something out of it.
Since it's not an XP share Mamoswine, that's going to forward quite a bit of experience. And I think for Megu, it does manage to help them hit that level 12. Regieleki, the second one, will be now appearing upstairs. And no one from Yatagarasu is actually going to look at this. So Utah will get a free objective, it seems. Meanwhile, Yoshi's down in the bottom part there. And look at where Umbreon is. Kranix, seeing the fact that I might make a macro play, is going to jump in right in time and maybe pop something like a bit of damage on this Charizard as it tries to run away.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult for Charizard to get away here. It's lucky they've got some slow, but we do see the rest of them coming on down. Megu looks like they want to take the KO. So does Utah. Unfortunate for Charizard. Defeated there by 3 Gen 5 members, and now they're just going to try and push this T2. But as you say, we do have Yatagarasu managing to land onto it. They're going to be able to defend that, but look at this rotation from Gen 5 here. Just steal every piece of farm you can as you retreat.
When you have more bases up, you've got less wild Pokemon on your side, so it only makes sense to do so.
We do have there, the ball comes in, there's Infinite Cyber, and this is where the fight is breaking on out. They've managed to pick up 2 KOs, but Psyduck does fall, and there's the Seismic Slam. Can they do enough with it, though? They've not been able to. Utah is hunting. They're going to see if they can pick up Yorge. Oh, good pressure put onto them there with the Fire Spin as well. We do have some good pressure diving on with this Blaziken. There's the eject Blaze Kick. Can they get onto them there with the Aegis Slash? Megu is just putting in work. There is the coup de grace, but it's not enough. So Ray takes the Aegis Slash down. Seabus trying to see if they can get out of this one, but I don't think they're going to be able to, but at least they got some good KOs in that.
Yeah, it's a little bit tough as a Mamoswine. Now, I do have to say, though, the coup de grace from the Aegislash was so late in that fight, and so was the Seismic Command from the Charizard. So, I mean, this is going to be maybe a delayed Rayquaza fight if you're on the side of Yatagarasu, but they can't really afford to delay too long as they're behind in points. This Registeel buff is great news for Gen 5, though, heading into the final stretch. I mean, the attack and special attack buff will allow Lunda to really dish out some massive damage.
Well, where we are sat in this game right now, Rayquaza is about to spawn, and it is all advantage Gen 5. They have the levels, they have the points, they have the buff. It's going to be difficult for Yatagarasu to get something to work here, but at least they do have that poke damage coming in from you.
And they're going to be looking to get some vision. Is Seabus. They're dancing around so far, but it's really sticking close to that Blaziken as well, right? Because that's going to be their insurance policy to secure this Rayquaza if it gets to that rip potential. But it doesn't seem like Gen 5 wants to make a move just yet. They're slowly filtering and pushing Yatagarasu outside of this top Rayquaza pit. And look at Blaziken so far out of the pit now. 90 seconds to go, Tano. They need to make a move if you're Yatagarasu.
Like that was going to be it, but now Gen 5 have retreated. There's a Mamoswine diving on in. They've got the Ice Fang, but so does Megu. They dive in with the Aegislash. There's the Infinite Cyburn, and they are falling on the side of Yatagarasu, but there's the full power Sai-Ai, and just as a blink of an eye, there goes Yatagarasu. Gen 5 can now rip this Rayquaza. They're going to be able to take game 1.
Yeah, it was a really great engage by Seabus to grab the Mewtwo Y, but don't forget, one of the moves of Mewtwo Y is the double teleport. So, even though you were stunned initially, you're able to get out of there, and I think that really started the fight. And unfortunately, it all collapsed, not in the favor of Yatagarasu. And with this, and the scores in the home pad, I mean, 587 is a poor order to come back in. Especially with only 40 seconds to go. There's one last fight that both teams are going on, but with the Rayquaza shield, and the attack buff as well. This is going to go game 1 to Gen 5. It's back to the drawing board right now for Yatagarasu.
It's so difficult, isn't it? Because, Utah is so comfortable on these speedsters, especially Absol. And there's only so many that you can ban out. And then not only do you have to just worry about speedsters, there's also really strong Pokemon in this game right now. That is a concern. Aegislash being one of the strongest all-rounders. You've still got Umbreon and Psyduck that are really dominating in their own classes. So they're kind of up against it right now because in this the game, the state of the game, it's so confident with so many different roles that people can play.
Exactly, and I'm actually surprised that Mamoswine was picked over Snorlax here. I guess it makes a little bit more sense since it's going to be a experience share Mew. But I think what I would have liked to see is maybe a damage Mew with this Snorlax. Snorlax right now, the amount of healing you're able to do from the Unite move, the amount of tankiness you've got, it's really underrated, I think, at the moment. And going into something like an Absol, perhaps you're going to be able to stun more than just one person, right? And especially since Aegislash also doesn't like to be stunned from any crowd control. Maybe a good pick into there. But, these teams obviously have practice mons that they're more used to. So I'm keen to see whether they change anything up for the second game.
Yeah, me too. Looking at this damage, pretty even across the board for Gen 5 realistically. And Yatagarasu, though, they had moments where they were managing to fight back as we have a look at this graph here. But it does feel like it got pretty close until we hit that Rayquaza moment. And then it just came down to that team fight. The difficulty is, though, Yatagarasu went to that top pad because they wanted to score. But then, of course, that means they're fighting in that top area where it's easier for Gen 5 to go and get that easy healing, right?
Exactly, and I think they had a really good fight in the bottom Reggie, right, for the second one. They were able to wipe out 4 members, all except Utah, who was just capturing some wild Pokemons anyway. But yet again, just the fact that Utah got those level 12s, level 13 so early on and didn't really go down. They only took 12k damage. They took less than Lunda on the attacker. That just means that they really picked their moments very well. And a lot of it was that early game, right? Knowing that if they get the crits, they're able to take out, a lot of members, get those high levels, get your Unite move available, and then just start spamming it every time you have it, and not really going to fight unless you have it. So I think this is something that Yatagarasu needs to keep in mind, right? And showing how, Gen 5 doesn't want to play into any speedsters from their statement bans. It's a great sign for Yatagarasu to actually think about now they're going to be maybe first pick. do we actually ban out the Absol or take one of these speedsters for themselves? Because that's really what they were lacking, right? They were lacking the early game.
Yeah, I honestly feel like with the game state right now, I think you have to be looking at taking the speedsters, just because of the fact that there's not a lot that like you can do if you don't, because there's only so many you can ban out, buddy. And I think right now people are concentrating on taking the Talonflame, taking the Absol out of it. Gengar was an interesting one because whilst it definitely has improved with the recent changes, it doesn't feel as strong as Absol and Talonflame, in my opinion, from my experience of playing it, and also from what I saw in yesterday's weeklies. So it's interesting that that was the speed that they prioritised, especially with someone like Utah being so comfortable on Absol.
That's exactly right. We're going to send it to a quick break, ladies and gentlemen, as we get set up for this game number 2.
Yeah.
See you guys very, very soon for the next game in Gen 5 against Yatagarasu.
Okay, everybody, I believe we are back. Apologies if there's any audio issues. That is currently what we're trying to sort out. But here we go, Fu. Yatagarasu versus Gen 5. As we mentioned, they have swapped sides here, and they've been able to lock in the Inteleon for Yatagarasu.
Yeah, first pick Inteleon. They're not afraid of any speedsters because 3 of them are banned out now from both these teams. Umbreon and Blissey will kind of be an insane second and third pick there and to round out this trio. But, in return, Sazuro will be able to pick up the Psyduck and Megu back on them.
Okay, and as we have a look at the bans, of course, Speedster's gone again. No surprise. They have banned out Yutao's Absol, so it's going to be interesting to see what Yutao goes for here. Psyduck, Mega on the Aegis Slash, and Lunda is going to lock in that Mewtwo Y again. It seems like they are pretty much comfort picks for Gen 5 right now.
Yeah, definitely comfort picks, and that's what you want, right, going into the second game as well. Very, very interesting is going to be the last 2 picks. It's going to be a double all-rounder, it does seem. Yosh picking up the Metagross so that perhaps Kranix doesn't have that choice, but looks like Kranix is going to be playing Defender for Gen 5.
Okay. I do like the fact that we have Metagross coming in here, actually. I think it's one of the most underrated all-rounders at the moment. It does so much. Yutao was actually going to take the Mouscarada, which also had some recent changes through. That's interesting. The Feral Flourish is still really, really good.
Yeah, it definitely is very good. And so is Night Slash now because of the fact that you've got that defense penetration. Now we do have a Zacian going to be picked up instead of the Blaziken from Psyx, and that's going to be just as good as securing objective with the Unite move as well. I'm keen to see how this second game plays out because on paper, both these teams have an incredible roster going in. Now, it's just all about whether they can protect 10-4 on the side of Yatagarasu.
I gotta say though, anytime you see Yutao having access to these species they feel so comfortable on, it's scary. And then you've got Kranix having access to Snorlax that's had the most recent changes and feels like probably one of the best defenders. That is also scary. But Yatagarasu, they are a team not to be trifled with. They never give up, Fu, and that's what we did just recently see. So I'm excited to see where this one goes. I feel like Yatagarasu are definitely going to come out swinging here. They definitely have a slightly better earlier game in the sense that they've got that Umbreon and Blissey and Zacian on their side, which in the previous game didn't go their way.
No, it didn't, and I think they really made some very important changes. But at the same time, I'm keen to see a Snorlax come back in. I was really excited to hopefully show everyone the power of Snorlax because right now, anytime the Snorlax takes a nap, the amount of healing it has is really insane. So we're able to catch that in this game. But folks, we're up here with our second game of this set. Yatagarasu on the back foot here, looking to take it to the distance.
Yeah, that we are. This is really exciting. Yutao here is just going to rotate into their jungle. Of course, they're on the side of orange and Yatagarasu on the purple side. Metagross taking the jungle for Yatagarasu is quite interesting. It's decent in lane, but they just want to get that evoed as early as possible, right?
Yeah, they definitely do. We have an Assault Vest Snorlax as well. I just realized this is very good into something like the poke coming out from 10-4. They're looking to play very aggressive here because Snorlax has that decent secure potential. And if they can out-secure something like a Sobble, which it does, look at the 17 points on Kranix right now. They've absolutely done very well in this early side of the game.
Some good aggression here, though. That's the difficulty of Zacian as soon as you hit level 5 as well. But this is why we see Yutao rotate on up with that Florigato. They have been able to get 1 KO. They get the 16. No, they don't. That was so close, but they managed to get away from the stun, drop some quick damage, and now Yutao has to retreat. And here we go. The Metang is up here. The Gyro Ball is going to be really good against these mid-birds that are about to spawn. Of course, Yutao does go in, but the Gyro Ball cleans up most of it.
It definitely does, and now Megu in a tough situation gets knocked down from Yosh there, so a bit of experience hitting that level 6 now is the Metang. They're going to lock on with the tackle for more, trying to get some scores in, but they all have too many in their pockets here, Tano.
Too many indeed, and of course, Ryu doesn't want to be giving over any points on that Zacian. Yutao's really wanting to lock in on this, but Gohan has been providing the healing there to Yorch. They have that assistance, so that's going to be too much for Gen 5 to push. Now they're just going to retreat back to their own areas and see what farm they can grab, whilst Gen 5 are feeling pretty comfortable in this basement lane here, Fu.
Yeah, speaking of any wild Pokemon they can grab, it seems like Lunda and Kranix have grabbed every single farm. It's still a Sobble on the side of Yatagarasu, not a good look, unfortunately. And that means they can't actually contest any of these birds in the middle side at the 8-minute mark, but that's okay. Rest assured, we do have the sharing of the central area. So we do have a Drizzle now on the side of Yatagarasu, and they're going to make an impact here, trying to secure as much farm as possible, but looks like there's going to be another fight in the top half.
Wow, this Matang is going to be so difficult for them to handle. There's a Zen headbutt from another postcode, buddy. They lock onto it, and again, Utah is going to have a difficult job coming up against this Metagross, but it is working quite well for Yatagarasu right now. The Gyro Ball providing so much assistance with damage and shielding, and then you just have that Zacian and Blissey just on your hip. In this basement lane, though, it does seem a bit too much for them to be able to protect it against Kranix and Lunda here. They're just being able to be so disruptive, but to be fair, Kranix is really putting up a good show.
Kranix definitely is. I mean, you got to show up, right? Especially with your new team as well in these grassroots tournaments. Kaisha got 3 from Megu out of nowhere, it seems, and really provides them the opportunity to maybe get some scores in. But obviously, the Blissey is going to try to stop as many as possible. It's going to be a soft-boiled Blissey, so he's going to provide that healing against the Pokemon from the Lunda here, as we have a contest of this Regieleki up top. Maybe just a bait all along. We do have Zacian going in, straight in to the Infinite Cyburn, and it looks like it's only going to be Gohan trying the best to secure. Unfortunately, he will go to the side of Gen 5, and with the Meowscarada Unite, that's going to be shredding through everybody. That Regieleki walks right in.
Now they can see if they can get some points reined in here for an over cap. They do have the 13 and the 1. 40 here on Megu, but it seems like they want to leave it up, in fact, which is quite interesting. Or maybe they're just looking for another stack. In the meantime, though, the central area is getting damaged onto it. They're going to be able to grab all of that farm. We still have 3 seconds left on this. Can Megu rein it in? Yes, they can. A 38 over cap. You're going to be quite happy with that if you're Gen 5.
I mean, it's still going to the donut store, Yatagarasu, not able to find any stacks even in that top half. So it's going to be a little bit of a difficult mid-game, I think, for their team. They still got a couple of 7s, Tano. So, I mean, do we even go for this, Regice?
I don't know. I feel like maybe not. I feel like... I mean, if you've got the opportunity, definitely. We do have a bit of zoning coming in here from Zebus, but I just think maybe push the other side. If you don't have that many points or any, they've got the 2 in, maybe go for the other lane. But of course, they just want to make sure this global experience doesn't go to Gen 5, but that's so difficult to do. They're so good at locking it down. There's the Compute and Crush. They even had Zacian there, but no, it's going to be the Snorlax that takes it with a Heavy Slam, I believe, and then Lunda's just going to continue picking up these KOs. Gen 5 doing what they started, buddy. They're going to rein in another overcap. It's 232 points to 2.
Yeah, 230 disparity is a very difficult position. Lana picking up a Kestrel of 4 there, which is why I asked the question, is it even worth? Because not only are they not able to get the objective away from Gen 5, they also afforded so much XP because the whole team got wiped. And this just gives Gen 5 the opportunity to take all the birds coming on their side as well. So absolutely starving them now is Gen 5, and looks like this Regieleki might be another tough fight. I think it's all about maybe trying to get your Unite moves back in, look for a proper pick, maybe where you have a numbers advantage before actually committing to a full 5-on-5. I mean, with the Inteleon and the Umbreon Unite here, maybe there's a play, maybe a nice little poke from the snipe shot, maybe able to set up something for them.
I mean, they're just going to be able to use the pressure of this Lecky to just grab all this farm that's on the field still. We do there see the Aegislash just telling people, come down here, let's get all this and just get prepared for the next fight. We're at 4 minutes here, buddy. Gen 5 are just looking for something to do. The central area is getting taken by Masquerada. They're just looking for something to happen right now.
They absolutely are. I mean, we've got a little bit more than a minute and a bit before the final stretch will begin here. And obviously, still lacking the scores is going to be Yatagarasu. But levels are slowly creeping up right now. They're still on a 2-level deficit. However, a couple of scores maybe for the Umbreon. Maybe a nice little pick on Megu up in this top path. But you can see how well Gen 5 is playing. There's always someone, a supporter, with one of its carry Pokemon. So if things do become dire, they do have someone to help them get out of there, which is what I like to see. But meanwhile, on the side of Yatagarasu, this Metagross is by themselves here, and it looks like they might get taken out by Lunda. And this is just the impact, right, of having someone with you, a heavy slam to stun in. to make sure that your teammate gets the finish will mean that more experience still land on your side of the map.
Sazero used that side shot there just to see if they could pull them back for Megu to be able to clean up, but they've decided to go back and grab some points, grab some experience again. Reggie Steele getting taken by Gen 5. I mean, nothing has gone wrong for Gen 5 in this game so far here. I mean, we do have the pressure from Cebus there, but it's not going to be enough. Blissey still falls, and everything is going their way right now. Every piece of farm, every KO, every team fight. It's so difficult for Yatagarasu to come back for this, but we have 30 seconds to go here, Fu. If any team can do it, it's going to be them.
I do definitely agree. When there's a raid, there's a way, right? But this is really a game that Gen 5, if they are going to be losing, it's going to be them to lose because right now they've got everything in their favor. They have a Reggie Steel buff going to this Rayquaza fight. They've got a level 14 Masquerada, and they have 200 points in the lead here. Kren is getting poked out though, has to pop the eject, but look at the power snap bringing all that HP back, and immediately Inteleon is now knocked out. Bliss Assistance trying to find the Zacian, not able to do so, and everyone is just falling like dominoes on the side of Yatagarasu. 3 members out, not able to use their Unite move, and Gen 5 is going to waste no time to rip this Rayquaza, even using the Masquerada floral finish to make sure there is a proper finish on this Rayquaza, and they're going to be good enough to secure that. The white flag has been raised from Yatagarasu. It's going to be a 2-0 to Gen 5.
Yeah, one thing's for sure, that was definitely a comfortable game for Gen 5. Fantastic play by them. Yatagarasu, though, you've got to give them their respect where it's due. They did not give up, Fu. They were trying to grab what experience they could to get back into that one, but it was so difficult. I mean, look at the state of this stat board. You've only got 3 KOs across the team there. Gen 5 saw the opportunity and did not let go of the aggression in that game, constantly putting the pressure onto Yatagarasu, and it's so hard to come back into a game of Pokemon Unite when that is the situation you're in.
Exactly right, and I think a lot of members of Yatagarasu got to really play the game, seeing how aggressive Gen 5 was up from the get-go. I think Krenix, we have to give them credit because they really turned a kind of a bad moment into a good one there at the start of the Rayquaza fight. They had a great poke from Tin 4 onto them. There were not a lot of HP, but they saw the opportunity to quickly eject Heavy Slam into the Power Nap to double stun up the Inteleon, and that way the Inteleon was actually the first to fall. And once your Inteleon is knocked out, Tano, there's not going to be any poke on that team, and you can just really run through and isolate and knock out the rest of Yatagarasu. So looking at the battle report as well really paints the picture, right? Really nothing was slowing down for Gen 5, and Yatagarasu not really able to answer any of the questions that Gen 5 threw at them.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of just shows how the game went. What we'll do here, though, chat, is we're going to give you an update of the bracket before we head off to break. So we're going to move over to that now, and this is where the standings currently are in this tournament. The gang is currently in first place with Komai Esports fast on their heels here. I mean, there is an entire set ahead of them that the gang have managed to get. They're currently 8-2 right now, through Komai Esports sitting there on 7-2. It's really interesting, is that bracket.
It definitely is, and I think Komai E, I'm not surprised they're so high up on the leaderboard, right? They've got so much momentum from the EUIC. They're playing very, very well, and especially with Saray on the team, definitely going to add towards their aggression. What I also like to note is Sanguine doing very, very well. We see them a lot in the EU weeklies that we like to cast, so a lot of familiar names coming out from these tournaments, and I think I'm very excited to see how that changes because we still got 2 more rounds to go, haven't we?
That we do, buddy. Okay, chat, we are going to head to a quick break. Grab yourself a drink, grab yourself a snack. We will be back with you very shortly. Hello, everybody, and welcome back. We are getting prepared for our next game in round 5, I believe it is now, Fu, in this Swiss tournament day. It is going to be the gang versus Nouns Esports. We all love having Nouns on the broadcast. Really exciting tournament so far, Fu. I've been really enjoying what we've been seeing.
I agree as well, and there's a couple of pretty insane matchups for this round number 5. Obviously, we're going to be spectating the gang against Nouns, but we also have Pomai against Olimpo, Drill Peckers against BH3, that's a good watch, Sanguine against T3, and obviously Nemesis against Barcelona 2025. Don't forget, it is the top 8 from these 34 teams. And we looked at the bracket beforehand, before we went on that break, and there's still a couple of big names still not in that top 8 regions, so definitely there's work to do in these next 2 sets.
Well, let's have a nosy at that bracket now as we go over to it. We've had some changes already, buddy, and it's the gang is still in first place, comfortably there on 8-2, but so is Nouns Esports right behind them on 8-2 as well. So this game here is going to decide what their standings are going to be like going into this next round.
And this is the beauty of Swiss, isn't it? You're going to be versing teams that have the same amount of Swiss score as you. And for that, it's going to be the gang against Nouns, both really in that top selection of your top 8. And I think as we get down there, obviously Gen 5 still trying to crawl back into that top 8. I think they might have lost 1 or something like that today. And it also depends on the games that you play and depending on how the tie breaks work. Regardless, though, it is going to be the top 8 that will be playing the elimination tomorrow. And don't forget, the top 2 from that will also qualify for the Summer Showdown later in the year.
Yeah, I mean, what we need to talk about really is that these tournaments are so much fun because there's so many different regions that compete in them, right, Phil? It's not just, your typical regional tournaments that you have. It's kind of international. You've got so many different regions. So many different regions have their own style of playing Pokemon Unite, which is why these tournaments are so important. Although I must say, recently with the changes, I feel like every region's just going to be speedster from what we've seen so far. But I absolutely love it. I think it's such a blast. I think every team enjoys coming up against other regions because they just throw stuff at them that they're not quite used to going up against in ladder.
Speaking of not quite, used to getting, it's the map as well, right? I mean, what a relief for these teams to play back on Fierce Sky Ruins. I personally do not like Remote Stadium anymore. I felt like I had this love-hate relationship beforehand, but enough about my life. And let's talk about this game number 1 between the gang and Nouns Esports. Speedster banned out for the gang, and so is the Psyduck, and yet again, an attacker Speedster banned out for Nouns Esports as well.
Yeah, interesting stuff there. Let me just swap these names around. But yes, Speedster's getting a lot of ban action today. Talonflame and Absol not getting through, but Bruv does get access to that Snorlax. All these defender players are feeling so happy with the way that Mon is right now. Some great changes made on it recently.
Definitely, I think just taking advantage of the buffs, it just means you can first pick something like a Snorlax and really get away with it. And look at this, double Speedster in your second and third slot is something we've never seen before, truly. And that would mean that, after showing that this is the game that Nouns Esports wants to play, I mean, the gang has an opportunity to counter it, and Clash is going to go with the Trevenant and one with a Zero Aura, which is very interesting because it's a Speedster themselves. However, to my knowledge, they didn't have the defense penetration buff from the recent patch.
They didn't. What's crazy right now is that there's 5 Speedsters on our draft screen right now, for 2 of them being banned, 3 of them being picked. What a state of game we are currently in. I absolutely love it. Gatlu, I know, enjoys that Gengar a hell of a lot. Tedessu's going to lock in that Mewtwo Y. We're seeing teams really go for that Mewtwo Y recently because obviously Inteleon gets banned quite a bit, but it seems like a good pick that they go to rotate onto outside of that. Maybe because the teleport does give you really good maneuverability, and I think that's why we're also seeing Espeon get picked here, Fu. I think maybe, of course you do have Psyshock, but I think stored power just gives you a little bit of more kiteability around these heavy Speedster meta that we're going into.
Actually going to play the Devil's Advocate here, Tano. I don't like the Espeon pick at all. I feel like Espeon just gets one shot by every single Speedster ever, right? Like, if it gets onto you, you can't really get out. Obviously, Store Power is a little bit of a dash, but you can't really dash out of Dream Eater, can you, if it kind of lands on you? So, I mean, maybe they've just got something hidden. Or maybe the Unite move is a great way to bait people in. Use the Psychic Solaire for your Trevenant or your Zero Aura to kind of like clean up. And the other thing as well is I wonder what type of Hooper Indy's going to play, especially being Hyperspace Hole is so hard when you have highly mobile characters you're trying to save, right? I think Trick probably is going to be a great shout there. What do you think?
Yeah, I think I'm with you, to be honest, especially with the ones that they've got around them. Mewtwo Y could really benefit from that. I just feel like, I mean, what attacker doesn't have trouble with speedsters right now, buddy? I feel like Mewtwo Y could have difficulty with Zero Aura being on that other side, but it's an interesting one. You never know how these games are going to go when you've got these species on it, because Gengar takes quite a while to get to that right level where I say that Haunter obviously has access to Dream Eater, and then you can start getting those resets. But Masquerada takes a little while as well, so we'll have to see how they get on in this. But as we go into this game, it's going to be the first game of round 4. We're going to have Nouns Esports on your purple side and Degang on your orange side.
Yeah, Gatlow's going to be taking the central area as your little Ghastly, and that means your Sprigatito will go onto our top path with the Hooper as well. Hooper will be maybe looking in for an invade, or maybe just checking whether the Ghastly will be invaded. That's probably what Indy's going to be doing, and they do spot 2 Eevees up in that top path there, and kind of really fend off any sort of invade so Gatlu can get that level 5 for the ambush.
Yeah, it does enable Toon to also get a couple of stacks in, something that you really want to do on Masquerada any chance that you get to do so. If they can hit level 5s quite early here on the side of Nouns Esports, they're going to be feeling pretty great. Of course, Gatlu's going to come into that lane as the Haunter. Down here, though, I mean, Snorlax is always so difficult to deal with, and then you've got a Mewtwo Y to back it up as well. That's why we're seeing Zero Aura rotating down into here. This is where we're going to see whether it's going to be able to do enough against a Desu. Looks like they're going to dive on in there, but it is the Volt Switch, so it is going to be the Discharge that we expect to see. One managing to get a good KO there, but a Desu seems like they're a bit too much for them to go and handle. That's why Gatlu has arrived down here. We're about to hit the 850s. Gatlu's trying to see if they can pick up a KO here. They do manage to find the sword with a little bit of that Will-O-Wisp. They do miss the second Dream Eater, but it doesn't matter. It was going to be a triple KO, but a Desu manages to finish that one off.
Yeah, what a great shot to come ambush the bottom path as well, seeing that the Zero Aura were over there. And Volt Switch obviously doesn't have the same impact as Dream Eater, doesn't it? So, I mean, this is now back to capturing some of these wild Pokemon, especially for one, as they do need to unlock the Discharge before they can actually go up against them. Trick will be the movement of choice for Indy, and that's what we expected. As now teams are just waiting maybe another 15 seconds before the next contestant farm. Maybe the next fight will go through. Eject coming out, but like I said, you can't really eject out of the Dream Eater, can you? And they're not even playing Store Power Tana. They're going to be playing a Side Shock. What an alpha move to be on an Espeon. You've got no mobility there.
I love it. I love how they go, hey, they're all speedsters anyway. We've got to take an attacker. You know what? Let's also go for the Side Shock. Fair play to them. It's a good strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for them. 75 points on the board for Nouns Esports right now. They are feeling comfortable. Zero Aura, though, is managing to keep this level lead. We've just had level 7s hit on Masquerada and on Mewtwo Y. Not quite at that Gengar level yet, but with that jungle rotation, they're not going to be too far from it. We do have a dash on in here with one. That's the power of Volt Switch, though, right, Fu? You can just use the opportunity to dash on in and dash straight back out.
Yeah, they're going to be using it to try to pull members in and out as well. That's why you see the Zero Aura going for some auto attacks to gain that booster to instantly paralyze the enemy. They don't manage to pick up anyone just yet. And even though they were able to pull someone, it was actually the clone from Masquerada. So, I mean, that's an additional Pokemon to kind of look out for, especially you're already quite fast as a speedster, but if you have a clone as well, it's going to be mighty hard for the gang to actually catch on to you. It's going to be a Registeel for our first basement Reggie of this game, and this is what Gatlu likes to see, especially already unlocking their Unite move on Gengar.
Yeah, this is going to be scary. We did see Espeon trying to see if they could back into it there. Of course, with Psybeam and Psyshock, really good secure potential. But the second Gatlu has sight on them, they're just going to be locking in this Dream Eater. That's going to be scary for them. Nouns Esports are feeling comfortable right now. Indy looks like they're going to rotate around. That top Lecky is ready to go, but we're going to leave Bruv down here to defend this basement pad. We do have free pushing onto it. There's a Psyshock and the Volt Switch coming out of one. The Discharge isn't going to be able to do enough, though, because the block is going to stun them. Now we have a Mega Mewtwo Y on the field. The Desu's dropping a huge amount of damage. Oh, the Infinite Side Strike came out, and with that Psychic Solaire, it's not going to do enough to KO for Gatlu.
2 KO for Gatlu and maybe some more as they look to try to push this bottom pad. What a nice little pull by 1 there, but it's not going to be good enough because the trick just provides enough shield and also perhaps healing for Gatlu to get out of it. No, Gatlu actually goes back into the pad and gets punished for that. And 1 now having a level 9 using the Plasma Gale as well to gain a KO streak of 2 as well as we're going to be pushing up to the bottom pad.
Oh, I mean, that was really good, buddy. We saw the dash on the teleport with Adesu, but they just ran into 1. It's a very difficult situation to be in. I feel like I'm having a little bit of technical issues here. There we go. We've skipped back onto it, trying to score some points into this T1. The block is up from Bruv. It's not going to be able to do enough to stop the 30 raining on in. So the gang have managed to catch up a little bit on this score level.
Yeah, this is huge for the gang. I mean, Zero Aura hitting that level 10 to try to match as much of the aggression coming out from Nouns Esports. Do have Flower Trick to go through, but with a discharge, they're able to steal that buff away and actually take down Masquerada as well. So it's up to the rest of the team to kind of catch up on the levels. They do have 4 Unite moves available for the gang, as opposed to 3 on the side of Nouns Esports. So with this bottom Reggie spawning up very, very soon, Tano, we might see another fight here. Now, having a Hooper Unite is huge for their team as well. Now, Indy able to kind of select where to put a team in, whether they go for a backup play here or, you know, getting the Hooper portal ready down at the bottom for your proper fight as well. A lot of flexibility there. And we're going to quickly pan down. It's going to be a Reg Ice for the second fight.
There we go, a bit of zoning coming in straight away. Brothers got the block up. They let the rings loose on Indy. They're going to see if they can utilize this for some CC. Trying to deal with this Trevenant. The Wish is going to do so much from a healing perspective. Workers just trying to put in the work on the Espeon with the side shot, but they've been backed up to their goal whilst Gatlu has been cooking in that top lane. They're going to get that 50 and Espeon's trying to see if they can go back and stop it. Will they have time? No, they won't. Gatlu with a nice 50 raining on in. Of course, they do have the 3 meter. The Psychic Solaire comes out. They do miss the side shot. Gatlu's trying to see if they can run. They drop the 3 meter onto the Aegis Slash. That's the one that you don't want to out of those 3. Unfortunate, but they have been able to just cause such a distraction from the gang there.
Yeah, Gatlu looking for a little bit too much there and actually gives a ton of levels back on the side of the gang now. They had an opportunity to get out, but sometimes it's all about seeing whether you can start chaining with it. Phantom Forest to come through, but it's not going to be good enough against Toon's Flourish to kind of secure that Reg Ice for their team. And Flower Trick going to be able to pick off your Umbreon as well. And now the Trevenant is left trying to fend this pad by themselves. 1v2 scenario with a Mega Mewtwo Y will mean they also go back to Nisjoy to say hello. 262 to 193 here, Tano. I mean, we definitely have Nouns Esports in the lead.
Yeah, I mean, that was a pretty good overcap as well on that basement lane, so it feels like it is going to the side of Nouns Esports right now. But having said that, the gang have managed to keep up in these levels realistically, buddy. We have these species at level 13, so they have managed to at least got themselves to stay in this game. And with final stretch not too far away, not too many points between them.
Too many as well, and I'm glad to see, you know, the Zero Aura has been keeping on par with the levels, and Espeon hitting at level 12 is also quite decent as well. I mean, I think the plan here is really seeing whether you can land a good Plasma Gale from the Zero Aura onto the Speedsters, preferably before Gengar goes into Unite move so that it doesn't actually target anybody coming out of that move as well. And obviously, we do have a good secure potential with the form of Aegis Slash's Unite as opposed to, you know, the kind of the tick damage that Masquerada provides. But don't forget, Gengar Unite also a decent secure, especially since you can be kind of invisible and underground.
Alright, apologies for the technical issues that we're having here, chat. It seems like the Wi-Fi is attacking everything that goes on with this tournament today. Sableye has managed to get into our system, and we're dealing with quite a lot of buffering. We're trying to see what we can do to fix that whilst we wait for the action to break off at this 2-minute mark. Currently, Nouns Esports are in the lead. It looks like we're just trying to see if we can zone people out here. We're about 30 seconds away from the Rayquaza, and they do seem to be locking down onto that Trevenant.
I do have to say, though, having a bit of buffering will add to the suspense of this game, especially since it's not really that far apart. Both teams, you know, really holding on, waiting for the Rayquaza fight, but a nice little engage from Gatlu will delete Zero Aura back in. They will be coming back for the Rayquaza fight, just a little bit late, however, but that's just the power of a level 14 Gengar, isn't it?
That it is, and that's why they've made sure that they are at that level coming down to Rayquaza. Just slightly missing the Dream Eater there, but this is why Nouns are going to feel really aggressive coming into this one, buddy. They definitely have a good situation with those levels. A nice block coming in from Bruv there, just trying to back out the Trevenant. Luckily, we're not having any buffering just yet as we hit this 2-minute mark. The teams are just waiting for the right opportunity to dive on in, but of course, it has to be the gang that does so. Nouns Esports are feeling confident. They do manage to find a Dream Eater, and that
Oh
deletes
my gosh.
Espeon Gatlu. They drop the Phantom Ambush if they can find a squishy that they can pair with the Dream Eater, but Trevenant is chasing. They have to utilize it to get themselves away. Zero Aura drops the Plasma Gale, but they don't want to follow it up because right now, Toon is dropping a huge amount of damage. They use the eject button with the Floral Flourish to find a KO onto the Trevenant. Adesu takes out Zero Aura. One by one, the gang are falling through, and with Aegis Slash being 1 HP in a dream, the rip on Rayquaza is ensued. Nouns Esports delete that dragon Pokemon, and now they can push onto these pads for some Hundo Burger galore.
Oh, it's just so difficult, right? We talked about how much damage a Dream Eater can do, and the Phantom ambush able to bait out the Plasma Gale, not to really get KO'd either, and just one by one, as you mentioned, members of the gang just dropping like flies. And what a dominant Rayquaza fight coming out from Nouns Esports. Having a comp that is not, too typical of the previous meta, but still making it work with your double speedster comp.
Yeah, that they are. Nouns Esports really impressive. Gatlu, of course. Gengar, extreme over on that side. I think Adesu puts in absolute bits on that Mewtwo Y as well, buddy. And it just seems like coming into this meta, Nouns have found a really comfortable meta for them to use. They did so yesterday in the weeklies as well. So impressive play by them. The gang, though, they didn't feel like they were out of it. They did manage to at least keep up on those levels and those scores until we hit that Rayquaza moment. So they just need to really come together for a good team fight in those final 2 minutes.
Well, I mean, the gang is leading the leaderboard so far in the standings. They definitely know what they're doing, and obviously for a best of 3 scenario, it is still a great possibility they can push it to number 3, but they have to focus on the second game and kind of think about maybe switching up the bans a little bit. I like the Talent Flame ban, but, is Intel really a problem at the moment, considering the fact that you can just pick a speedster and really take it down? I feel like their draft would have been fine into something like an Inteleon, especially having a Volt Switch Zero Aura. So maybe banning out perhaps a Gengar, it kind of like helps out with the problem, perhaps, and just leaving Toon on Masquerada maybe an easier question to answer.
Yeah, I think I'm actually with you there, Thu. Maybe the Inteleon isn't too much of a threat with how strong they are. I mean, look at this here as we look at the graph. It was a close game until we hit that Rayquaza moment. So fair play to the gang. There's a reason why they're currently leading the standings. We'll have to see whether they decide to shake things up as we go into the next game. We'll get that prepared for you now, chat. And yeah, it's really interesting. I feel like every now and again, like we end up in a meta for Pokemon Unite where for ages, it's just that. It's been all-rounders and defenders that have been dominating for so long. And then a patch change happens or they add something new. The defense penetration they've added, I think they're going to have to go back and look at because I don't know. It just feels like there's not really much that threatens these speedsters right now.
Yeah, really isn't. Like, I mean, to beat a speedster, maybe you just play another speedster, and hopefully you are able to KO the enemy team faster than they KO your team. And that's probably why so many speedsters are banned out as well, just to reduce the amount of counter. I mean, it seems like, we talk all about these speedsters, but Leafeon, which was so prevalent maybe 2 meta ago, it's not really played at all, right? And possibly just because, even though Leafeon has such a great early game, it doesn't really have the same amount of impact in that latter bit, and not something comparable to something like a Gengar or, even the Masquerada Unite as well. So now it's Esports. Banning out Umbreon is very interesting here, but looks like the gang has kind of remembered how strong Gengar is and banned it out for the second game.
I absolutely love that. Respect the ban on Gatlu. Let's get rid of the Gengar. Yeah, Umbreon is an interesting one. I feel like that's probably just due to how much it can help with Wish, right? And just disrupt the other team. Slowbro is just self-explanatory. The Slow Beam just takes out a Mon straight away. Talonflame getting banned by the gang as well. They just know, let's not let Gatlu get access to these species that he's been cooking on for these past 2 days.
Yeah, it's really actually interesting. This is a possible chance for Nouns Esports to play something like a Comfy Absol, because Absol is the other species that's let out there. And I think maybe that is the play. They first picked Snorlax so far and actually afford to give the duck to Ducky Loco TTV, which is, I guess, the perfect person to play Psyduck. And I mean, TTV Bits has an opportunity to kind of pick what they want. And I love this pick here. This is so intelligent from their side. They probably sense the same thing. And I mean, there are a couple of speedsters left that might work well with a Comfey. But I mean, Absol Comfey, definitely very hot duo to pick up right now. And I guess McDonald's worker picking up here is going to be a great way to prevent that from happening.
Yeah, I think that's a great decision as well. Indy's going to lock back in that Hooper that they utilize so well. Gatlu is going to lock in the Miraidon. So this is the power of Pokemon Unite right now. There's so many viable picks. Mimikyu is going to come out to play. One of those pseudo speedsters realistically, Fu, right? And it still does really well in this meta. It's actually pretty good for trying to counter some speedsters as well. So I like this from the gang. They've really realized, let's get rid of the Gengar and the Talonflame. Let's take the Absol. And then we're going to go with the Mimikyu as well and try and target what we can on the side of Nouns.
Exactly, and I think Mimikyu Play Rough could be great into some of the squishier comps. Gallo picking up the Espeon here, probably going to be switching with Adesu, I think, as Adesu. Is there going to be that attack player? But Dodrio, another species that we've forgotten, might be a decent shout as well. Having a Bliss Unite onto something like that could be good, but looks like TTV Bits are going to go on the Garchomp instead. Not too sure how Garchomp plays into this comp, especially having a double team Meowscarada, but for the rest of them, they may be able to scoop something out. I mean, block, I'm just thinking from Brav, we'll be able to stop that stun coming through as well. Won't get grabbed if they have that up. So a lot of, I guess, different ways you can counter something like a Garchomp, but Blissey Garchomp, Helping Hand, Safeguard, that's really what I expect as well. So, I mean, there's a lot of options they can actually play, right? I don't really have a typical defender either on the side of the gang. So I'm very interested to see how this game goes.
Yeah, I'm actually with you. I feel like Clash locking in on TTV Bits there as a pocket Blissey is going to be really important for this game, Fu. Of course, they're coming up against a lot of melee-heavy Mons. I mean, of course, Espeon is there, but, you know, it's not quite as much range as the other ranged attackers, so they're not going to be able to do much against Garchomp, but gets in its face. When you have a Pocket Blissey, that's going to be very difficult to take down. So that's a really interesting pick. I suspect it's going to be in that top lane with Mimikyu, possibly grabbing the jungle or the Absol will actually. Either of them can work in lane. But I like that the gang have got themselves an easier earlier game as well, and they have got some good counter picks for what Nouns were doing in that previous game.
Exactly. I think early game is so important, especially going up against a team as aggressive as Nouns. Just, you know, at least going even in the path is going to be the number one a goal, right? And to make sure that you don't lose any paths to begin with. We're going to start it off now. And it's actually going to be Gatlu on the Espeon. So maybe a bit of a different game here as Adesu will take that Zacian up in that top path.
Yeah, really interesting. It is going to be one in the in the central area with Mimikyu. That's going to be a really good power spike at level 5 to come into that lane. Gibble in this basement lane alongside Psyduck. That's actually a good pairing, but it seems like they just want to grab all of the experience they can without being too aggressive down here, Fu.
It's just a great way to set up a path is to have Psyduck with something that shreds so well, like a Gibble. And as long as Gatlu doesn't get that level 4, it's going to be a favored secure, I think, for the side of the gang. And, you know, on the top path, we have Absol. Probably going to be struggling a little bit into the Zacian in the earlier portions until this Mimikyu comes to help. And the great way about flexible speedsters is also they can take the second round of central area as well, right? But we're going to have a hugely engage from here from the Mimikyu. One's going to come down to look at something. They know there's still an Eevee in this path, so probably an easier time than ganking something like a Zacian.
I really like that they've gone for the Shadow Claw here on the Mimikyu, but they really are going to want to try and lock in on these squishies, see what they can do, putting a lot of damage onto Bruv there as well. But now we're going to retreat back to gang. They're playing quite cautiously here, and I quite like it. Grab what experience you can, don't push too far. Although, as I say that, Clash looks like they've been caught out here with Adesu ripping them down. They're going to head into the jungle here, so it's going to be Zacian cleaning up the rest of this central area for now.
Yeah, we're going to quickly pan up top side to see what's going to happen. And Toon is almost level 7. They do hit that region already from a top path Pokemon. That's very, very good on their part. They're going to get a cheeky little stack in as they look to get out there. And maybe it's a different Masquerade this time, even though they have a flower trick. Is that right to say they've got Trailblaze this time just to afford that additional dash?
I love Trailblaze. It's one of my favourite movesets to use on Masquerada. But yeah, it's interesting. With that flower trick, there comes the Sacred Sword. That's going to absorb most of that central farm for the Mimikyu. Is on 1 HP in a dream. They do manage to find Hooper, but then Gatlu takes them out with the power of Psy Shock Espeon. Now we have a Gabite getting prepared to ambush Bruv and Gatlu coming onto this. That's probably not what Gatlu wants to see, but despite that, it's only a Gabite Fu. There's not a lot it can do against those two Pokemon.
Yeah, there's not going to be that full stun that you can have with the Dragon Claw. And I'm just have to say, though, is there something cooking with the Psyshock Espeon? So many times, you know, we've got a Psyshock Espeon, and going up against a Mimikyu and an Absol with a Garchomp looking to push you, you just have no mobility. So maybe there's something that I don't know about this Pokemon. Maybe it's all about just a better aim, right? If you get a stun on them, sets up a great engage for your team. Regardless, though, we do have a push onto this bottom pad for Nouns Esport, and I mean, with Garchomp not able to get Garchomp so far, I mean, Gabite is still going to be looking for that extra experience. We're going to have a Trick Room Mimikyu as well selected for 1. What do you think about that move?
Fascinating. I love it. I love it. You don't really see it, but I think it's such an interesting move in the game. It's really awesome to see. So, hey, let's throw it out there, buddy. I don't know whether it's better than the Shadow Sneak at this stage. The Desu does manage to take that Lecky, and now they want to push on to this pad. I feel like the Shadow Sneak could have worked quite well against the Squishies. But, of course, Nouns, they're very much in your face with the way that they are right now. So maybe Trick Room is the call, but it does seem like Nouns want to push onto this T2 pad. And with Bruv throwing up the block, they're now going to be able to rain in points. We don't have the springboard at the home base here, Fu. It's 6 minutes in. That comes in at 5, so they can throw a huge amount of points onto this T2 pad.
They can. I think it's just very difficult, especially without having an Absol or a Mimikyu Unite to stop that push there. And Bruff HT with the block is going to be able to really knock out everyone else from the pad. A Desu 1v3 in this bottom part there might go down to the Mimikyu if they're not careful. There goes the play with me, and that's going to be a lot of experience. If they can actually knock them out, they are successful. That's going to be 1 down for Nouns Esports as we have members now just trying to push it back just in case something happens. Now with the cavalry coming out from Nouns, we have the Livid Outrage now pushing on, but gets quickly stopped by the Power Nap of Snorlax, knocking up the Psyduck. The Psychic will be able to pop the passive on Gatlu, and it's not going to be good enough because the Midnight Slash doesn't even connect at all. They're looking for more, and I think this is the moment for the gang to quickly back away. They've gotten some value from taking out a level 10 Zacian. They probably don't want to lose it and give it all back to Nouns.
That was such a shame. McDonald's worker has been on shift a bit too long, buddy. That Midnight Slash was just close to taking out Gatlu, and it absolutely will because it's so much damage, but just missing that is definitely an opportunity that they managed to miss. Of course, Gatlu is only level 9 at the moment, but so is the Absol. We are about to hit the midway in this game right now. 250 points on that board against 13. The gang are definitely on the back foot here.
The gang trying to find a way to maybe get a KO. Now, I guess the drawback of a Trick Room is that you're not going to be able to get to the Squishies with ease. It's all about kind of brawling in your face, maybe playing a bit of front to back. But when you do have an Espeon in the back line, it might be hard to kind of take down. Do have a Registeel as the second basement Reggie of this game, and TTV Bits against the Zacian Unite there. Zacian actually goes in early. Eject coming out from the Garchomp, but actually gets stunned out and actually will get KO'd as well. So still on the back foot is the gang. Bliss Assistant going to Mimikyu before they fall, and it might be a push now on both ends of this map for Nouns Esports. Nice little block from Brav. We do have a 44 attempt from Toons, but the play with me will be able to successfully land on Gatlu, but somehow Gatlu still tries to make it out of there. Luckily, Psyduck will be able to get that KO for their team.
We do have the full power Psy-I. That's going to do enough to save Ducky, and now they push onto Bruv here. They've got the Psycho Cut, but look at the amount of damage that Bruv is managing to absorb, buddy. They're going to be able to take out McDonald's worker with the assistance of Toon on the Masquerada. They were fighting there for like a solid minute or something ridiculous, and Nouns Esports have come out of that feeling really rosy with 262 points on the board.
I just realized we forgot to mention Tano. It is a Flail Lax that Bruv is playing, yeah. Not a heavy sand battle. I was wondering, I was like, where is the engage from the Snorlax? But it seems like They use block to obviously gain that additional shield, and then when things get tough, it's all about that flail to do that massive amount of damage as well. And maybe this is the counter to some of the speeds that we're looking for. Not too sure how it works, but we do have a flower trick running at the TTV bits right now. Gatlu going down to the Absol. The Midnight Slash actually hits this time, so great news for McDonald's worker as they're looking for more. Psycho Cut onto Brav. Power Nap now to stun 3 members. We do have the Trick Rooms get set once again. More KOs need to come out from the gang if they want to get some of these levels back. But nice isolation from Brav will mean that Hooper actually takes down the Absol.
I mean, to be fair, they needed to try and get their Unite move back for Rayquaza, so maybe getting KO'd gives them a little bit of charge at least. We also saw the Power Nap, as you mentioned. It looks like Cash is going to go down here at least. Gatlu's going to lock that in. Free Registeel here for Nouns Esports. That's the buff that everybody seems to want more than anything. Is Gatler going to allow it? No. Okay, they do take the KO. That was mean. They're giving them that false hope, that false sense of security before they take that KO.
Yeah, something teams like to do is kind of delay the supporters' KO so that they might struggle to actually come back into the Rayquaza pit in time. Great strategy, but the Blissey wasn't a lot of a cooldown timer anyway. Masquerada Unite pops in early into the Livid Outrage as well. Toon trying to get away now. They do so successfully. And we do have now teams just engaging immediately. TTV Bits no longer HP after using the Unite move. Midnight Slash might be good enough to take down Adesu. It takes down Gatlu first before they actually unite. And Adesu, not a lot of HP, hiding the left pixel bush, managed to get out there. No scoring on top, even though the Regieleki walked in. And we're now in for a refight, folks, as Mimikyu and Espeon are trying to get back into the Rayquaza pit to have 200 points in favor of Nouns, and it's yet again up to the gang to make a difference. Nice little pull by McDonald's worker as well with TTV Bits, and that means Toon is going to be out of this next fight as we have another engage coming through. Sacred Sword on the Absol. They managed to knock them out of there, but they get pulled by the Psychic Tano, and Adesu goes down. Bliss Assistant onto Rayquaza. It's going to be on 1 HP. Whose the kill is this? It's going to be the Mimikyu. It's going to be one saying that they won one game for themselves as well, as we might go to the distance as the Psyduck gets a huge little 82 up on top.
Yeah, with this coming in, that's 249 on the board. If the Garchomp manages to take this, which they will. Oh, that was so close. The Flail Max damage, it just wasn't enough. It was a 1 HP shield and a dream. But of course, we do have 40 seconds left. They have taken out Garchomp. That's a 30-second spawn timer. This is why we're seeing one get themselves in a position where they could score another 82 points. That might be the difference in this game. Gatlu is hanging back, just prepared for it. I don't know whether the Psyshock is going to be enough to break that shield, but McDonald's worker jumps onto this T2 pad, just seeing if they can break some damage onto them. But now's the push from Nouns. The psychic, the full power Psy comes on out. They do manage to find Toon. I don't think they're going to be able to rein these points in, unfortunately. Buddy Zacian is down there on that bottom pad, but the 82 goes in. The gang taking this second game. We're going to a game 3.
We definitely are. I mean, it's like they say, right? In the club, we're all fam, but in Thea Sky Ruins, we're all the gang. We have a 1 apiece from both these teams. What an incredible fight there. And I think taking out Toon early on just meant the second fight was much easier. And with all those Unite moves getting used already, it was just about the raw damage that these teams can put out. And a great sidekick from Ducky to pull in the Desu and make sure that they go down as well. And after that, it was only Gatlu for the secure. So it got a little bit too much, I think, with the overwhelming number of players still available in the gang. But nonetheless, this is what I like to see. 2 absolute Titan teams fighting it out for a final game to really determine, right, who is going to be number 1 in the standings for our day 1.
Yeah, I mean, it did feel like Nouns Esports were pretty comfortable in that game, to be honest with you. But the gang found the way to bring it back. What a fantastic Rayquaza battle they had. And they managed to come out on top. I mean, bruv, dropping 86k damage on that Flail-Lax is ridiculous, mate. Did more than the Absol. That is ridiculously strong. But as we have a look at this graph here, of course, it was Nouns all the way. 13 points the gang managed to score until we hit that 8-minute mark, and then they had 33. So really, it did come down to having a fantastic fight from that team.
It definitely did, and especially since Nouns had the Reggie buff as well, and like Registeel buff, it just meant that it was a lot harder. But like we said before, because there were 2 fights there was an opportunity for the gang to come back in. So, I mean, Game 3, what do we do? Are we still going to be banning out speedsters? We're going to let it go? I mean, they took our advice, right? And that's why I'm claiming that they banned out Gengar. It seems like the secret to winning the second game. Is it going to be the same thing they're going to be doing for the third one? Don't fix what's not broken. Or with the switch of the sides, perhaps a different priority can be afforded here. So what do you think that these teams should do for this third game?
I just think you can't not ban the speedsters, or at least not throw something alongside a Gengar or a Talonflame. You definitely can't let both through. I feel like maybe run it back. I feel like they managed to find a way to keep themselves in that game, come back and have a great Rayquaza battle. They just know that Nouns are aggressive from the get-go, and they continue to lock in that snowball any opportunity that they get, so they need to be prepared for that. I like the fact that they were getting more of an early game for themselves over on the side of Dagang, but for me, I don't know whether the Garchomp was the answer, to be honest, but I know that, of course, they were great moments for it, but it took so long to get to a point where it was doing something for their team. I feel like that may have been just not the right call, so let's see whether Dagang shake that up as we head into this draft screen here. Looks like they're staying on the same sides here, Fu, so now they're going to stay on that first pick.
And I do expect a Snorlax first pick, but before then, we're going to see the bans. Will they have anything different? Looks like it's going to be the exact same first ban. The Umbreon will be not playable in this third game for both these teams. Gengar going into the ban gel as well. I never thought, in a million years that we will see so many speedsters banned out. But Psyduck is going to be changing it up for now Esport. They're going to be banned out, but same double speedster ban from the gang.
Every time I look at speedsters being banned, I just feel like I'm home. This is where I belong, buddy. Pokemon Unite, speedsters being the meta. This is where I belong. Bruv, picking up the Pokemon they belong on. Snorlax is an easy lock-in, and what a shift they put in that game.
They definitely did. It's just the power of not only your heavy slam Snorlax, but also the flail doing huge amounts will be great there. And bit of a change up here for the gang. We have a Blissey Absol to rock on their roster. So, I mean, Esports gets a respond to that. I think perhaps, yeah, Toon going back on the Meowscarada. They've been playing it all day, and Gatlu now has taken away the Garchomp from TTV Bits.
I love this, and I find it so interesting that Garchomp does so well in these games in general, just with this meta, because it's not like there were many changes to Garchomp in recent patches, Phil. It's just the fact of the way other mons have been nerfed or buffed has meant that it works really well. One is going to lock in the Zero Aura as well, so they're going for the double speedster comp on the side of Dagang. Ducky has taken the Trevenant, so they're going to build some good frontline around it. This could be quite scary for Nouns Esports, but if they do lock in this Hooper, it is definitely going to give them an easier game against them. Adesu looking for the Espeon is quite interesting, especially if they don't go for stored power, as we've mentioned quite a bit here. For that Psyshock, I know it does provide that stun, which is absolutely huge, but against two speedsters and a Cinderace, that might not be the call.
In the world, it's the draft that the gang has put out. I mean, I know one plays Zeraora, but I'm just thinking, did they pick it so that there was no comfy Zeraora available for Nouns Esports? Because comfy speeds, they're still very strong, especially since there are only two speedsters banned out there. I don't really understand the Cinderace pick, in my personal opinion. It just feels like something like a Meowscarada. It's just so easy to take down three members now, right? Because they're also squishy, especially with the defense penetration these speedsters will have now. Makes it a little bit easier for them. Regardless, though, we will be able to have a better secure, I think, on the side of the gang if they have their Blazing Bicycle Kicker ready to go. I'm keen to see how this third game unfolds, because this is the last 10 minutes, right, to determine in this round number 5 who's going to lead the standings.
Yeah, and I gotta say, the gang have really taken it to Nouns Esports. I do think the Cinderace pick, I don't know with the way the game is right now. Attackers are having the worst time of their lives in Pokemon Unite right now. It's not an easy time to be an attacker. But I feel like Cinderace and Greninja are having a little bit of a resurgence from what I've seen, just because the maneuverability that they have, and even feint on Cinderace, does allow them to be a lot harder to catch. If you're an attacker that is difficult to catch, you're at least doing okay in this meta compared to others. So maybe that's the plan for them. We'll have to find out, but here we go. We're going to head into this third game. Nouns Esports still on your purple side, the gang still on your orange side.
Yeah, they're going to go through. Now, Toon's going to be taking this central area now because we do have Gatlu with the Gibble up in the top path, and one will do the same in their central area as well. So, Absol's going to go up against a Gibble in the early game. So, it's going to be a little bit hard with double melee. Hooper will be coming out on top in that matchup, I think. And speaking of matchups, I mean, a Score Bunny in the bottom against a Snorlax is a tough core to play, and Bravo able to get all those raw Pokemon is going to be huge for their team.
Look at the shift Catlu's putting in there, and he just really providing them with the healing alongside that focus band just means that they were able to put a huge amount of damage onto 3 members of the gang. Toon here taking this central area away from one. They're going to steal that buff, get themselves back to their home pad. That's exactly what you want to see from your own central Pokemon.
That's exactly it. 10 seconds until a possible ambush for these 850 birds. And it's going to be Zeraora hitting the bottom path first. And one is ready to go. But Odesu now with the Espeon will be able to provide a stun if they land the side shot. We're going to have it start. It's going to be still power here. So it seems like we never are able to call it right. Even though I expected that side shock will have a different type of Espeon in this game.
They like to keep us on our toes, buddy. They've definitely gone for the right move. I love it. Odesu's going to cook with that in this game. Gatlu trying to see if they could steal Clash away. They weren't able to. McDonald's worker dropping a huge amount of damage. Oh, one pulled them back, and it was enough for them to go back onto the Hooper portal. That is very unfortunate for the gang. And Phantom also falls to the power of Odesu. It's not quite going the gang's way here, Fu.
It definitely isn't, and with the portals coming out instead of Trick, it really are able to help 2 members right from the get-go to make sure that they come back with full HP as well, and that's going to send McDonald's worker flying back to their pad. They don't really have the ability to knock out any of the range targets so far. They're just trying to get the best. It's going to be it's a nice slash Absol, isn't it? Compared to a Pursuit.
It's my favourite build on Absol Night / Psycho Cut. It does so much. It definitely does mean that they can get in and get out quite quickly, but of course Pursuit does give you so much speed. But we'll have to see if it's going to be enough for this game right now. Hooper staying up in that top lane. But down here, the gang want to put some aggression onto the side of Bruv. But the block they're utilizing is huge. I'm liking this gameplay from Bruv. It's so fascinating to get that shield with just that move. Throw it back down and then you've got so much that you can take.
It definitely is a great way to keep yourself sustained in the fight as well, especially since, you know, it gives the opportunity for Hooper to bring someone else back as well and not really just focus on the tanks all the time. It is a great relief of that pressure. We do have a level 7 Zeraora with the discharge available, but looking at the levels, however, Naounce Esports very far ahead with a level 9 already on the side of Toon.
Yeah, this Red Jice is just going to get ripped down by Naounce Esports. Some good zoning coming there from Bruv means that that's going to be free real estate. The gang trying to do the same in the top lane with this Lecky. Looks like they're going to be able to with the Flaming Blazicle kick coming in. Oh, but there's a living outrage as well, Fu. Is it going to do enough to pick up Trevenant? The eject button comes on out. That's not going to be able to, but the Floral Flourish will. I believe that was a free KO for Toon as they rain in these points onto this pad as well. 2 points it's left on. They're seeing if they can get it on the 1 and get the 30 in. Oh, that's going to be a 29 overcap.
Wow, what an incredible way to turn that around. Even though they lost to Regieleki, so much value on the side of Nouns and Masquerade Unite just doing so much in terms of pushing onto the pad and getting those 3 KOs. It's just a huge shout out to how this Pokemon has really benefited from the recent patch, hasn't it? Nice little pull though from 1 into the Horn Leech. This is a fantastic display of synergy from your team and really forces out the power nap from Bruv HD. And will they be able to take it down? They will. Send Snorlax back to the Pokemon Center. And all while that's happening, Gatlu does get a 40 on top, though, so pushes them into the lead even further. Plasma Gale looking onto the Hooper. Probably wasn't the target they're looking for. Yet again, Flora Flourish will be able to send the Bliss Assistance onto Cinderace to make sure Bit stays in that fight. Yet again, the Cinderace so squishy, right, in some of these fights. It's really up to them to kind of time their fate well as well. I just want to make sure it's actually going to be Flame Charge Pyro Ball. Is that correct? Just want to make sure that we call the right move.
Yeah,
that is interesting.
I thought it was earlier too. I thought it was the Blazing kit, the Unite move coming from Cinderace, but of course they were level 7, so it is Pyro Ball that they're playing, which is so interesting. That does make it even harder for yourself to deal with what's coming your way. So, interesting decision. They're now going to push onto this pad from Noun's perspective, but that's going to mean that they do go down. Bruv is going to defend against 4 in that basement lane, whilst Nouns push this T2 pad. McDonald's worker trying to put in an overtime shift here. We do see TTV bits coming up onto the pad as well. This is the difficulty of pushing this before the after the 5-minute mark. They have the springboard. A double KO for Gatlu. Looks like they're going to be able to get out of here as well. So despite the fact that they had a lot of damage coming their way through, Nouns Esports score the points, get themselves away.
It's just a perfect display of just great macro, isn't it? And Gatlu's able to stay in that top path as well to rip that Regieleki, even though there's a fight at the bottom. Nouns Esports managed to pocket that Regice as well. Midnight Slash to come through, not really locked into anyone except Bruv, HD, and they don't really care because, one, they've got the Power Nap available. Secondly, they have the Hooper portals available as well. So it just seems like, although there's a lot of damage coming out from the gang, that there's not enough to take down a single target. And now Trevenant has to pop their Phantom Forest to stay in this game as well. Not able to actually pick out anybody. Maybe Toon will go down there, but the Flora Forest were able to do so much damage. They do ultimately explode in the Plasma Gale of 1 though. So perhaps it's still a decent amount of XP and also value that the gang is getting. But look at that top part, just constantly pressure, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. This is what I'm liking, is if the pressure's coming in one lane, they're trying to do the same in the opposite. We're going to get 40 points ringing in here from Clash. McDonald's worker looks like they could get this 50 in with the assistance of their teammates, allowing a quick goal. So good bit of positivity here from the gang. They've managed to score some more points. We're about a minute away from Rayquaza spawning, so they're definitely behind, but levels wise, managing to keep themselves in the fight here at least. Masquerado on level 14 is definitely going to be a scary sight though, Fu.
Oh, it definitely is, and I think Toon is now just trying to get their Unite move back for the next bit of fight. It's probably going to be the final stretch. We've got a minute to go. Not too sure whether there's actually any opportunity now for the gang to push a pad. They are going to be setting up positioning very early on, but so is Nouns Esports as well. You can see these players know how important positioning is, and especially for their team where they have the ability to kind of chain stun with the Horn Leech as well. Maybe if they get a good pull, they're going to be able to get an early fight in there as well. So, bit of a Horn Leech onto the wrong target. The clone will be able to bait that out. And the benefit of Store Power, as you can see here, Tano, is that you can get some free pokes out of nowhere, just dashing away, putting it in. Another Registeel for Nouns is a huge RNG in their favor. How do they have this plot armor, Tano?
A plot armor, it absolutely is. Registeel for the second game. That is definitely going to be scary. They've got a huge buff coming into this. They may have been able to catch out Trevenant as well. Good Horn Leech there trying to push Toon into their team. But of course, Bruv is there just to be able to cause some huge damage with that flail. And now the gang has been backed up into their own central area. It looks like now they're just going to prepare for them approaching this Rayquaza pit, ready to rip off on anyone coming their way. TTV Bits does drop the Pyro Ball over to the wall there. But again, now these spots are just prepared for any engagement that the gang go for.
It's just so hard because for Ducky, it's kind of like a guessing game to see whether they will actually teleport from the side of Toon there, and they have to just use the Horn Leech. So sometimes a great way to bait it out. Speaking of bait it out, there's the discharge coming out from 1. Now we have Gatlu all the way up in the top part there. Both teams are trying to fight in this top area. We do have a bit of isolation that Bruv is trying to do. Goes right into the portal, so that's nice to come out. Full HP. Weather Live and Outrage randomly into the Phantom Forest here. Everyone just trying to go for an engage as the Unbound will come through from Indy to pull their team back in. Gatlu maybe not that lucky anymore, trying to get out with the boost to heal. They actually take down Trevenant before they go down as the Business Assistant finds 1 out of nowhere, and Adesu is going to be running after this Aura. Will they be going to be good enough into the discharge? They're on 1 HP. 1 stands of that 1 HP. Not going to be good enough as Indy sees the opportunity to knock out the final member of the gang. Nouns Esport able to grab this Rayquaza uncontested. A bit of a scramble for Rayquaza fight, but they do come out on top.
Yeah, what a round 5 this was, buddy. That was fantastic play by both teams. But Nouns, the teamwork that we saw there, I mean, going back Indy there, just making sure that 1 did get KO'd while Odessi was chasing them down, take that out of the fight. Now they just lock in the Rayquaza. Nouns Esports are going to come away with this game in this round 5.
They are going to be able to do just that and really cement themselves on top of the leaderboard going to round number 6. I mean, what an incredible performance from both these teams. A great showing of the power of both speedsters and also Pokemons that can potentially counter speedsters, right? But I think it's a great display of how the meta has shifted so fast. And with the March qualifiers coming out for NAIC, I mean, this is going to be a very interesting lead up to that. And just looking at the battle report here, kind of even damage across the board. However, do have to say the fact that Bruff HD took in 39% of the team's damage. Great way to ensure that, your speedsters and even your attackers aren't going to be, in the front line to take the brunt of the damage.
Bruv is just, in my opinion, the best defender player in EU, buddy. Maybe even the world, to be honest.
Maybe even the world, right?
It's so difficult to handle him on anyone, especially Snorlax. After we have a look at this graph here, it was just Nouns Esports all the way, to be honest. It did feel like maybe that something could happen at the Rayquaza fight, as the gang managed to do so in that second game, but they definitely had the answer to the two speedsters that were coming their way. Wow, okay, buddy. Fantastic play from these teams. Nouns have managed to take themselves this set, which surely means that they're going to go first in the standings so far, because the gang were in that position. It's just such an exciting game, isn't it? These sets have been incredible.
Yeah, and I think speaking of the standings, they have just been updated as we head into round number 6, our final round for today. So perhaps we can bring up on the screen, Tano, to have Nouns leading the leaderboard. Koma E winning their round as well. We'll put them in number 2. The gang pushed down to number 3, but still qualified for the finals so far. And we do have some updates now. Gen 5 and Nemesis making them into that top 8. And so does Sanguine as well. And they're going to be able to push down some of the teams that we saw were in there before. And you can see, for example, Yatagarasu not able to find any W's anymore, will get pushed down into that 22nd mark. But all eyes are now onto these teams, these final teams, especially Barcelona Absolute Cinema, who are very close to qualifying, and it's all up to this final round. And I think it'll be a good time to take a short break, Tano, as we get set up for this final set of today's match. We're looking for top 8, ladies and gentlemen, out of the 34 teams that sign up. So incredible enthusiasm, and we're going to keep up the action very, very soon. Don't go anywhere.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Okay, it's round 6, the final round of the day. And I know everybody wanted Nouns Komai, but come on, we're probably going to see a lot of them tomorrow. So, what we are bringing you is Absolute Cinema versus Sanguine, because this could have an impact on these standings, right, Fu?
Absolutely, and Sanguine, I mean, fighting the spot to stay in the top 8 here because Absol not too far behind from qualifying either. It's not guaranteed Absol will make it into the top 8 if they win this, but it definitely sets them up in the best chance, especially if they can 2-0 as well. But these teams are incredible in their own right and definitely going to be playing with some of the best Unite, I think, especially if qualification is on the line.
Yep, that they will. They need to make sure that they do get qualified for the finals tomorrow, of course. And this is another team in Absolute Cinema that have really come along in leaps and bounds in recent weeks. We see them every week in the EU weeklies that we do, Fu, and I feel like they definitely improve as they go into each and every tournament. So they are literally teetering on the edge of being able to qualify tomorrow. And of course, Sanguine have managed to just edge themselves there. But if they lose this, it's pretty much guaranteed that they won't be going into tomorrow's games because, of course, win rate matters in this Swiss round. So the percentage of your wins is going to make the difference. Exciting game, buddy. Do we expect to see a lot of speedsters here? It's been the talk of this entire patch. It's been the talk of today's tournament. I think we will.
I think it's definitely a very educated guess that we will be seeing Caesars once again. And I'm not sure, these teams where they're going to be playing the speedsters that we're used to seeing. I mean, like I said, there's a lot of speedsters, right, available. Obviously, the ones that were buffed with the defense penetration are probably going to be the most prio, but don't forget, we still have Zorak that is used so widely, right? We've got Leafeon that we haven't really seen much. And those are the two speedsters that we're used to seeing a lot back in the day. And Absolute Cinema is a team, as you mentioned, that have played so much in terms of the grassroots tournaments. They say practice makes perfect, so maybe this is a chance to show off some of that perfection. We've saw them in the boot camp as well. Very, very lovely people in person, but it's about locking in for this final round today of the winter tournament or winter showdown rather. And Absolute Cinema will have the first pick here. They're gonna be banning out the Blissey though, so not what we'd expect.
Nvidia is going to take out the Absol as well. No surprises there. Will Ganon go for the Talonflame that we've been seeing so many people ban, or are they going to go for the trusted Psyduck? Yes, they are. So, understandable picks here. Maybe Absol sneaking on in just due to the recent changes to them. Absolute Cinema get this first pick. What are they going to use it on? We usually see people go for those trusty ranged
Surely
attackers, but Talon, yeah, easy, right?
It has to be Talon, I think. It's just too good of a Pokemon not to pick up. Where you can even play it in the top path as well, just being how well it is for the early bit of damage with acrobatics. The Scout-Toe, though, will be able to pick up the Aegislash, and TVPR on the Snorlax is a great shout, I think, for Sanguine.
What I also like is seeing these builds on pro players because that's the build I use on Talonflame and it makes me just feel so secure that I know what I'm doing when we see that happen, buddy. Aaron's also going to take the Mouscarada. Oh my days. Luigi locking in the Hooper. This is fascinating. Nvidia goes for the Sableye, which has seen a little bit of a resurgence now, Fu, maybe because of just the disruption that it can cause on speedsters. But I feel like looking at Absolute Cinema's side, what a set of Pokemon they've already got.
I think taking away the Sableye is very important as well, because Sableye Talonflame is a combo we've seen used a lot recently, especially from Nounsers as well. And the ability to stun them coming out of your invisibility into the fly is a combo that not many can actually avoid. I do have to say maybe it's just a go to do 4 speedsters right on the side of Absolute Cinema with a Hooper. That would be pretty funny to watch. And speaking of speedsters, maybe not the speedster we're thinking of, but if they do play Submission Machamp, that's a fast boy right there.
That it is. The Machamp currently has an EXP share on it as well, so we have support Machamp on
extra
the field.
Speed, Tano.
Hey,
extra speed.
News, hey, if it works, Fu, it works. Let them cook. They're in the kitchen right now. They're giving us a show. They want it to be Absolute Cinema. Ganon is going to take the Armor Rouge. Do we expect that to go Fire Spin? I know Armor Cannon does a great amount of damage and splash damage, but Fire Spin just gives it that kind of all-rounder stylish move, doesn't it, Fu? And it can be quite good against that burst damage coming your way.
I think it's a really smart move to go fire spin here because you've got 4 members of Absolute Cinema all being melee or having to get up close and personal. And not only is that great for something like a fire spin, it's also great for the Aegis Slash as well because sometimes Aegis Slash does struggle to kind of chase down enemies if they can't get the initial lock on with the boosted. However, if they're all going to be running at you anyway, a massive wide guard into a Seika Sword could mean the end of a lot of these squishy Pokemon that Absolute Cinema has in their roster.
I gotta say, as a fan of Pokemon Unite, as a caster, I am so excited for these games because we see so much of my favorite Pokemon. Absol is played all the time. Gengar is seeing the light of day, Fu. Every time I see it, my face just lights up. I'm so excited for it. So, what a meta we're in. This is getting me really excited for these next huge tournaments. I mean, you mentioned it. We've got the finals coming, the qualifiers, sorry, coming next week for the Match Cup, and then it's not far from LAIC, right? NAIC, sorry. So it's so different of a meta coming into those tournaments. EUIC was literally last week, and it was completely the opposite of what we're seeing here. These speedsters are ruling the day.
I mean, it could be ruining for some teams that don't play it too much, but for Absolute Cinema, this is their comfort, it seems like. And everyone wants a piece of the cake of the new buffs. And they've got 3 of the 4 Pokemons that were in that patch, haven't they? And it's going to be not Dodo hitting that central area for them. Obviously, thinking of all these speedsters available, that's probably the best one to choose to get that level 5.
Not only do we have the support Machamp, but we also have them invading the central area of Sanguine. They're going to see if they can get this red buff away because, of course, they're going to concentrate on grabbing the blue for Ganon. That's going to be interesting because that means that they're not going to be able to come into the lane as Armarouge here, Fu.
Yeah, very interesting that no one actually helped out this Armarouge, or the Shardicat rather, considering the fact that they saw one missing in the path. Regardless, we do have Nvidia running away and not going to be fast enough into the bird that could. And we do have a potential wipe here, but nice little acrobatics back in. A 180 will be able to knock that out, and Fire Spin as we caught it. So luckily, they're still able to get that level 5 from some of those top path Pokemon, and that's going to be a relief for their team.
What I do like is that teams right now are just trying to work out what they can use against these speedsters. Ganon coming in with the Fire Spin Armarouge, just trying to see if that might be the answer for their team. Right now, it does seem like they're going to be able to at least take out Daddy Leon here. There goes the Fletchinder. Now they can see if they can find more, but they're getting pretty weak as Haunter comes into the field. Sableye trying to cause that disruption. Nvidia does fall, though, because of the burn from the Will-O-Wisp. Not Dodo can score some stacks here as well if that's what they want to do. The Scout is so weak that it's going to have to just get onto these citrus berries here, Fu. Interesting play from Sanguine.
I really am sad that it's not a Hex Gengar, because I think Hex Gengar is so strong into that team, and maybe that's just me coping, because we've seen too many Shadow Ball Dream Eaters. But we do have Luggy, though, just poking down this blue buff without the notice of Ganon. So, yet again, Ganon not having a great time in the central area, constantly getting their buffs stolen from them, and with a K streak of 2 up in the top path, it seems like that top path has been won by Absolute Cinema as well.
Miraidon going for the Electro Drift as well. It did have a recent nerf, but of course it does give it that kind of speedster-like play, and it might work really well at trying to dodge the attacks coming in to them. It does look like Sanguine managed to grab quite a bit of that central lane farm, and with that Electro Drift, poor little Hooper gets deleted. Unfortunately for Luigi, back to the Pokemon Center.
I think you have to play Electro Drift into 3 speedsters, right? I mean, that's just going to be too tough of a matchup, not 2. You're going to get run down the entire match. Nilt is on that level 6. So with that experience share, maybe looking for more. They are going to be playing Submission as we anticipated, but they're going to quickly get eviscerated by the boosted Electro Drift. And that's not going to be a lot of Pokemons available to kind of defend that pad, especially up in the top path as well. That's some nice little dunks coming out from Sanguine.
I mean, look at the points on the board. We've got 7 minutes here, so the objectives are spawning. Aaron's trying to see if they can get away, but no, the Electro Drift takes them down. Luigi manages to take down the legendary Dragon Bike as well. Regice has spawned. Typer's trying to see if they can get some zoning in here, whilst the Armarouge, there's the Psycho Boom. Luigi doesn't go down, but the Haunter does. Regice is so weak, they have to keep Luigi away from it, while Ganon puts the damage in with the Fire Spin. That's going to be global experience for Sanguine. Looks like they want to push onto this T1 pad as well. The submission comes in. They weren't able to find anybody with it. Cross-chopping their way through as well. They just break that pad. 175 points on the board for Sanguine now, Fu.
Yeah, really great comeback from Sanguine, especially seeing how easy it is for Absolute to snowball. Regardless, though, we do have Haunter evolving now to Gengar, I think taking down Aegislash. A nice little Chaos Glower to knock back two members, sending them back into their home pad. Not sure whether Nvidia can actually get out of this, though, but we do have a huge backup from the Miraidon, Tano, and that's going to be good enough to really get value out, especially with the experience now going on to side of Sanguine. The nice little Meteor will come through, trying to keep themselves unstoppable, but it's going to be hard to get out of double speedsters. They are going to be looking for more. This is an incredibly aggressive Miraidon, and it's paying off wonderfully for their team.
Yeah, I love it. I'm absolutely loving the electro drifts that we're seeing. They come and back up their teammates. They get some clean KOs, and they are able to get themselves out of there. That's what's so important, Fu. You can't give over unnecessary KOs, and the fact that you can rely on your Miraidon player to dive on in, get some KOs, and get out of it is absolutely huge for your team. Sanguine also being able to see if they can push down onto this T2 pad. They're going to be able to rain some points in. It seems like they really want to make sure that they have a massive point lead as they come down to the middle section of this game. We did see the Floral Flourish coming out from Masquerada as well, but yet again, the block Snorlax enables Sanguine to get their team out of there.
Yeah, it's going to be a heavy slam as well to add on to the stun that the team can afford there. And I think I do want to shout out the Masquerada. I mean, that was a huge double team into the fake, into the Floral Flourish. I mean, that was an incredible way to watch, and how they got out of that Aegislash being on 1 HP was a huge way to keep themselves in the lead in terms of their levels. Now we do have an opportunity for this Machoke to evolve finally. It's after the 5-minute mark, and they're going to be running it down, trying to grab anyone possible, and the Sableye able to get out of there, and still a Machoke there to show for themselves. No Barrage Blow available either, and Sableye just really causing trouble, right? Disrupting the gameplay there, and they're actually affording a huge amount of time for their team to actually grab that basement Reggie. But we do have a consolation prize in the form of 40. Not too sure whether the talent can actually get out of there.
Nah, it's unfortunate. A good dunk though. Of course, you need to make sure that you're keeping yourself within the game. There is the Phantom Ambush from Not Dodo, and they just utilize scoring to try and get that Dream Eater onto Ganon. They are able to do so. They decide not to utilize it though, so they're not stuck in the Flux Zone. But unfortunately, Sanguine did come with the rest of their team, and they take down Gengar.
They indeed do, and the top Regieleki will be available, but looking at the mini-map, it doesn't seem like Absolute Cinema actually wants to contest. I mean, the other thing about Speedsters is it's great to kind of get some backups in, because you are very, very mobile, but they haven't been doing that either, so bit of a tough scenario now for Absolute Cinema. They do have some levels to their name, however, I'm just worried that the final stretch fight might be a bit tough for them, seeing they don't have as much sustain as possible. Sableye gets the Dream Eater combo. There, we'll get the KO there. And, I mean, we do have Not Dodo finding that one for their team. And with that, I mean, if Sanguine keeps delivering this XP like that, it might be game over in that Rayquaza fight.
Yeah, definitely. They seem like they want to push into this top pad here. Ganon with the fire spin. So much damage thrown onto them, but they're still around. They said it was a squishy attacker. Ganon says, no, I'm not. You're not going to be able to take me that easily. Daddy Leon has to try and see if they can get out of here. On the Talonflame, the trick comes in. It's not going to do enough. It does, in fact. They take the KO onto Armarouge. Sableye falls as well. That's a double KO. Now they can see if they can score some points, but seeing that Miraidon and Aegislash there, they do want to return. Snorlax still being a nuisance down in this basement pad. Great play from Sanguine.
How did Talonflame get out of that and go 2 KOs? I thought they were done for after not landing the Brave Bird, but we do have on top there, Gengar not able to pick out Tai, but will be able to be enough damage to send them back in the home pad. Reg Eyes here now. So what I've heard from this Pokemon game is if you're not announced esports, you don't get a Registeel before Rayquaza fight. It's going to be probably the worst Reggie to play, but regardless, it's going to help out with the HP regeneration. Do have now team setting up. It is Sanguine in the lead, and don't forget these teams, they're looking for a way to win, especially for Absolute Cinema. They want the best chance for making that top 8. But for Sanguine, it's about staying into the top 8 and playing a second day tomorrow.
That was such an interesting play as well. They throw the trick onto Daddy Leon. They dive in with the Brave Bird and then use the trick to get straight out of that situation. Really smart play by them. We do have a little bit of damage going on to the Rayquaza here as they just try and get vision on where Absolute Cinema are here, Fu. They do have a good catch there by Saberlight. Nvidia managing to get some damage onto Daddy Leon as well as a stun, but there we go. We do have a fall in. There's the barrage blow. Were they able to do enough, though? There's the coup de grace, but they were cleaned on up by Masquerada. Really good play by Aaron, and it does seem like Absolute Cinema have managed to take out some good carries so far. Angel Slash is down, and we've taken down Miraidon. It's all going to come down to whether they can get the Armor Rouge. The rip is onto the Rayquaza, but Ganon is here. They have the Fire Spin, trying to see if they can sneak through there. There's the Psychic Kinetic going down. Rayquaza's getting so weak. Who locks it in? It is going to be Ganon. That is probably not the Pokemon that you want going into that pit with that Fire Spin there, Fu.
No, it's not. And I think just Hooper going down early was just so detrimental for the team, right? No Hooper portals, no Rings Unbound, no additional stun from the team. And all they can do is wave the white flag now as they're going to be surrendering this first game. It will go on the side of Sanguine. So momentum to stay in the top 8 is definitely on their team. Do have to say, though, that's what we were scared about, right? The squishiness of Absolute Cinema. They had some good picks there that took out the Aegis Slash, but just not enough sustain without the Phantom Force and the Trick to help some of their speeds to stay in the fight. And at the end of the day, right, you've got the Fire Spin in the entire Rayquaza pit. Very hard for them to go in.
It is, and I gotta say, I feel like the Armor Rouge might be a genius pick here, Fu, to be honest, especially taking that all-rounded practice with it, because, of course, while speedsters do huge burst damage, they do have to be pretty melee with it, so pretty good position for Ganon TTV to be in. 61k damage being the max damage in this game so far, so that's interesting. Maybe we'll see some more teams try and see if they can pick that up, because it definitely seemed to work for Sanguine. Of course, so did the Electrodrift Miraidon. And I gotta say, fair play Nvidia. I feel like Sableye was an absolute nuisance to Absolute Cinema there. And as we have a look at these points here, Fu, it is definitely was Sanguine's game the entire way through. They were in the lead for the whole of that, whilst Absolute Cinema tried to catch up at that 6-minute mark. Interesting battle between them, though.
Yeah, I agree. I think definitely for most of that game, it was Sanguine's to hold in and to control. But 3 Regis is quite a funny look, right? Considering we had a couple of Regises beforehand. So I guess it's really up to the RNG at the end of the day. But RNG is going to be the power play with the Rayquaza sporting. And what you can do is if you can wipe out the entire enemy team, then it's definitely going to be 100% Rayquaza to be yours, right? But it's not over yet for Absolute Cinema. They can still take it to the distance and maybe finish off strong here with a 2-1 if they are going to be able to win those next 2 games. Regardless, though, I doubt we're going to be able to see another triple speedster comp. I think that was maybe a little bit too much. I mean, yeah, everyone wants to play speedsters nowadays, but it's you got to think about the balance, right, between having the speedsters but also having a little bit more sustain in that later part of the game.
Yeah, it definitely felt a little bit ambitious, didn't it? I feel like maybe throw something in there like another defender or even an all-rounder, to be honest with you. Something that could try and at least go toe-to-toe with that Armor Rouge, maybe a Metagross or something like that, though you are worried about the late game. But yeah, I just feel like maybe that isn't the call. We'll see if they make a difference, make a change here anyway, as we have a look at these bans coming on in.
We will have a quick look. It looks like they're going to be sticking with the same side here, Absolute Cinema, choosing to pick first. They're going to be banning out Blissey first, as we saw in the previous game. But Gengar is going to be banned out for Sanguine, so none of that now for Not Dodo. So a different Pokemon, I think, available for them.
Yeah, Umbreon out of here as well. So Absolute Cinema going with sensible picks. Sanguine have done the same. They've at least got rid of the Gengar here. And of course sticking with that Psyduck ban. Absolute Cinema do have access to this Talonflame that they put so much importance on in that previous round. Is that what they're going to go for here? Or will they go for something a bit more self-sustaining? Nope, they're going to go for the Talonflame.
Yeah, I'm surprised they're not even banned out there. It seems like Sanguine had a harder time playing against the Gengar than the Talonflame, or maybe it's just a strategy thing. And I think the good thing about Talonflame is you don't always have to go for that Brave Bird either, right? I think Fly is a great option if you have a few attackers on the team, but not going to be attackers. We're going to have 2 speedsters to go through. That's 3 speedsters to be the first 3 picks of this set, and that's something I never thought I'd say.
Buddy, there's a reason I dyed my hair blue every single time we come into these tournaments since this patch. I knew this patch was going to
You
happen,
knew, bro.
mate.
You
I
knew.
was in the future. I knew it was going to happen. Now all we see is those blue backgrounds in every single tournament. TVPR does lock in the Snorlax.
Do you
So,
work for Pokemon, by the way?
mate,
Do you have some insider?
I'm the creator of Pokemon. I don't know what you mean. Everyone, Pokemon Unite, I made it, bro. So yeah,
That's
but
it. That's
not
it.
no. They do take the Aegis Slash, mate. So they're not gonna go for that triple speedster plan. Sanguine looks like they were getting prepared for it. Masquerada and Absol on their side, but now we have a Clefable getting picked. That's interesting, but I feel like it will work in this meta right now.
It is very interesting. I don't think it will stop something like a fly, but it definitely will stop the Aegislash from playing and having the most amount of dashes. But a very interesting play as well, because, I mean, Clefable doesn't really work well with speedsters, right? It's very hard for your healer to kind of chase up onto you. It's not a point-and-click heal either, so I actually don't like this pick at all. Regardless, though, we have Ho-Oh coming out from absolute cinema. So that's a very interesting pick. I mean, Ho-Oh got buffed 2 patches ago, and it has been doing very well in terms of the sustain it has, and also the vision it can provide for the team. And another Pokemon I didn't expect today was this Venusaur. But it looks like it's going to go for the Petal Dance, which could be good, could afford them the sustain that they're looking for.
Yeah, I feel like that's very much in the same idea as the Rouge, right? If you do have that raid boss Venusaur when you hit that level 13 at the later game, it's nearly impossible to KO, to be fair. And they do only have that the burst damage coming in from the Talonflame. Although Aegislash is there, so with it a couple of boosters, of course, Petal Dance means that NotDodo is going to be able to get plenty of those boosted attacks because you just throw out that wide guard and it's free experience for you to be able to get that. So that's an interesting decision. I feel like that's exactly what NotDodo is going to do. Make a beeline for that Venusaur. That's your target.
And I think picking the Venusaur makes more sense with the Clefable now, because now they're going to go for that Death Ball, right? We've got the Clef and the Venu sticking together, and also the Snorlax just to help out with the tankiness of it all, and obviously the speeds are doing whatever they can. Now, the great news is we do have a carry Ho-Oh that has a Curse Bangle on it, so you know, whether they go over the Flamethrower or the Fire Spin, regardless of the move, you're going to be able to provide that AoE Curse, which means that Venusaur won't really have the same amount of sustain, even with the Moonlight sticking by its side. I think that's very smart on the side of Absolute Sinnoh.
Here we go, though, Fu. So this could be the last game of the day. We'll have to see. Xatu just staying alone there, whilst Daddy Leon was maybe going in there a little bit. Absolute Cinema here on your purple side. Sanguine on your orange. Absolute Cinema need to get a win to take this to a game 3.
They definitely do, and with Ho-Oh and a future Espeon in this bot path, it does look good for them in terms of secure, at least. See Snorlax trying to secure it for their team. They are able to pick off one little bit of farm on their side, but once the Espeon comes online, I do anticipate a harder chance for them to take out some of those neutrals. But looking at the top side here, a double melee come out from Sanguine against a Hooper, which means possibly a tougher time for them to get away.
Yeah, and then we're going to see the Fletchinder coming in as well with the acrobatics and possibly the flame charge. That's a really good power spike for them to utilize. They do pick up their Clever. They're going to be able to rain some points in. That's working quite well for them, but it's also doing the same for Sanguine on that basement lane. Absol has gone down and dominated it alongside their teammates, and literally whatever happens in that basement lane is happening in this top lane for Absolute Cinema. What an interesting game this is, Fu.
Oh, it's just you know, we respect your top path, but we're going to quickly push this bottom path there to get value wherever they can. And I think it's very smart for Sanguine to actually ambush this bottom path to help the Venusaur come online. And once they do have access to that Petal Dance, then they can sustain themselves, right? So Ganon definitely an intelligent decision, and perhaps an intelligent kind of right place at the right time there to knock out this Doublade and gain themselves a closer march up to that level 7.
I like the stored power coming in from Espeon. That's going to make it even harder for Ganon to do much. They nearly pick up Luigi, but unfortunately they weren't able to. The fly from Daddy Leon says goodbye to Nvidia, though. So that's going to mean that top lane is actually sparse for Sanguine right now as they try and see if they can get back onto their pad here. They were going to. Now they want to push down onto Ho-Oh because, of course, we do have Masquerada here as well. But it's just so much burn. It's so difficult for them to handle Ho-Oh. It's got so much sustain, Fu.
It definitely does, and I think Flamethrower, having that buff recently as well, we'll be able to provide not only that damage, but for this case, it's going to be that curse, right? That lingering curse onto the Pokemon that can sustain. Hooper not in a great position. Trying for a little bit too much there will mean that there's an opportunity for them to push this pad. Is Sanguine and Absol going in early, but into the wide guard of your Aegislash will mean that perhaps they will get punished from that score. Regardless, do get a stack in, but they're going to be available for these birds now.
Yeah, utilising that fly so that they can take all of that farm away from Sanguine. They're going to back up onto their T1 pads here in both lanes, while Snorlax takes a quick nap, gets back to a rather healthy state. We're about to have these objectives spawn onto the field. Finally, Petal Dance Venu is on the field as well. It does seem like Sanguine are going to pay some attention into that top lane, whilst the rip on the Regice is here. Daddy Leon's going to lock that one in quite easily for Absolute Cinema. Now they may make a decision to push this T1 pad. Of course, Typer's there on that Snorlax. Definitely not an easy Pokemon to push, and Absolute Cinema make the decision to retreat from this.
Yeah, that's a really smart decision, considering that there's probably going to be a push from Sanguine up in this top part. Now, Midnight Slash actually goes through. Not sure whether it was really worth it to use a Unite move there, but nonetheless, they do get the Regieleki. Let's see whether they can make a way to push it in. I mean, it's already so low now, because Not Dodo is just shredding it with its Sacred Sword. And that means it's going to be a fight in the middle part here. Flame Streak to push in. Oh my god, they do take out the Absol though, but they will get traded out from themselves, with Masquerada taking that KO as they look to find some sort of engagement in the bottom path. But it's just so hard, right, when you have a Ho-Oh to try to take down with that flamethrower that's constantly down your neck.
I mean, you absolutely called it, though. We definitely have this pocket Clefable on the Petal Dance Venusaur. That is going to be very difficult for Absolute Cinema to KO as we hit the later stages of this game. For now, though, we are having a good field day up here on Not Dodo. There's the coup de grab. The Floral Flourish comes out, and Absol finds the KO. Ganon going to score a 40 dunk. Another 40 rains on in. That's a 33 overcap for Sanguine, giving themselves a nice lead, 165. Daddy Leon seeing if they can take out the Scout. But absolutely not, says the Scout, and they're able to take that one themselves. Here's the Psychic Solaire trying to see if they can cause some damage here onto Sanguine, push them out of the way, but it does look like they're going to be able to retreat. Not Dodo doesn't want to let them though. Venusaur does fall, and it looks like the pressure is raining on into Nvidia as well. They have to back up. Oh, they just missed the Psybeam. That was so close to taking that KO Fu.
Oh, definitely incredibly close. Nvidia now running away, probably accepting the fate there as they look into the wall, into that naughty corner, getting sent back, but all is not lost. They do have a Absol that is level 12 and going to be the first one of this game as they look for this Regirock. Finally, a refreshing basement Reggie away from Regice and Registeel.
Regirock, definitely the second best buff for them to be able to take. It seems like both teams are at least going to pay some attention to it here. And they do have the rip on the side of Sanguine, of course. Snorlax can also provide that zone in, but Ho-Oh is not an easy Pokemon to zone out. Aeron's there as well with the secure. They know that they need to go for the Espeon if they want to go for this. The Midnight Slash, though, doesn't hit anybody. Luigi lets the rings loose. They can bring in the entire team if they wish, but that Lecky is going to push into the T2, and it seems like the entirety of Sanguine are going to just approach that goal and try to break it. Aegislash does manage to find the Regirock, and look at the nuisance that TPR is showing here to Sanguine, whilst that T2 pad gets absolutely demolished. 307 points on the board for them now.
Yeah, I mean, even though they lost that bottom Reggie, I mean, there's just so much value breaking that top tier 2 pad, right? Considering the fact that there is going to be a third Regieleki to fight for as well. And getting some scores in for ties is going to be great for them as they want to hit that level 13 on the Petal Dance Venu. They're not going to be able to do so as they get knocked out by your Talent Flame. And Sacred Sword from Not Dodo looking for more, maybe trying to get this Absol in, but Ganon able to get out of there and sticking with the Clefable will provide some shields. No, they actually go back straight into the Sacred Sword. My bad, and they get knocked out there. Not Dodo is now a level 13. A Jet coming out from the Floral Flourish, not going to be just enough to take them down. They are going to be running back in, get stunned from the wide guard, and perhaps that is not the way the Scout wants to go. Somehow this Aegislash is still available for them. Not Dodo, slicing and dicing. They pick up another one with Talonflame, and you thought Sanguine might have had the upper hand there, didn't you? But, I mean, at the end of the day, if you fight the sword for way too long, it is going to be the Aegislash that comes out on top.
That it is. It's a scary Pokemon to face down, buddy. Of course, that Unite move doing so much damage, and then the boostings that you get. It's definitely not an easy thing to do, but level 13 has now hit this Venusaur. A huge area of effect they now have with this Petal Dance. It's absolutely massive, and it's going to be even harder to take down as we have Absolute Cinema showing their face for this Lecky. Of course, they do need to. That could be a win condition for Sanguine, and they're just taking the opportunity to score even more points and get the basement Reggie. They're hoping for a Reggie steal as the rest of their team sets up.
They definitely are going to be hoping. We're going to see in about 5 seconds what it's going to be. Now, we do know that there is obviously 3 level 13s on the side of Sanguine, especially with that Venusaur as well. Oh my gosh, it is a Reggie steal. These games are going way too well for the orange side, it seems. But, you know, don't forget, a level 13 Ho-Oh is a tough Pokemon to take down as well. And the Fire Spin is very akin to the Petal Dance. Regardless, we do have an early bit of poke coming in from your Espeon. And both teams just dancing around, seeing what both teams are going to be doing. Daddy Leon going in for the 50 into 100. We'll bring them closer into that disparity as we have now an engage coming through the wide guard to knock back the Snorlax, and both teams not committing just yet, but they will have to be soon, especially if they're on the side of the Absolute Cinema. There goes the heavy slam into the block, trying to isolate, but that's not something you can do to a Ho-Oh in Fire Spin. We do have a nice little Sacred Sword, not actually hitting as they go through. All members going in. The Midnight Slash knock out the sword immediately, and that's going to be 2 members down for Absolute Cinema. But the Ho-Oh to rekindle the flames, to bring back the Aegis Slash for a round 2. Venusaur is oh so low. Espeon actually takes it down, and that's going to be a huge KO for Absolute Cinema. But the Absolute Cinema will go down with 3 members now down for Sanguine as well. This fight is going on both sides in the absolute tug of war. Tano and no one has touched the Rayquaza since yet.
No, Daddy Leon does throw a fly onto it there, but of course with having Absol out of the fight now for 15 seconds, the rip is on. The power nap rains on down. Cannot Dodo lock it in. They've got the coup de grace. It is Absolute Cinema that takes it. The coup de grace works. Daddy Leon cleans up the KO. We're gonna go to a game 3, Foo.
Everyone is buying the tickets to the latest show, aren't they? And that's going to be a Game 3 scenario for Absolute Cinema against Sanguine. Both these teams want it so bad to make it into tomorrow. And with the fact that they have somehow come back, the power of Ho-Oh, even though Ganon got a KO Sugar 3, it just wasn't enough, right? You're going to be able to KO them twice there. And Ty going down to the Espeon is a huge pick for Aaron. And definitely was the game changer in that Rayquaza fight.
Wow, what a set these two teams are giving us. As a reminder, chat, if Sanguine don't win this set, they're almost guaranteed to not be in the finals tomorrow. Absolute Cinema have a really good chance to get into the finals if they do win it. Let's have a look at these damage stats, buddy, because it felt like they were constantly fighting, but there's not a ridiculous amount of damage. Of course, most of these Pokemon on the field are quite squishy, but I feel like Talonflame is such a threat in this game, and banning it makes absolute sense.
Oh, definitely. I think the instead of the Gengar ban, maybe a Talonflame ban is probably more viable for the team. Regardless, though, it's still a very close game. I hope we get to see the battle report in a little bit. But, you know, it was just really a tug of war for most of it. And, you know, you can see always Sanguine had the upper hand, but slowly but steadily, Absolute Cinema were climbing back in and trying to grasp any opportunity available to them. And, you know, that comes in the form of a couple of Reggies in the bottom path. But just at the end of the day, it's just how the Rayquaza fight goes, right? And Ho is just such a great pick for them, I think.
Yeah, Ho-Oh is an interesting one as well, because as you say, it has recently been buffed. It's so difficult to take down, and of course you have the Rekindling Flame as well that does bring, well, if you have enough points, you can bring your whole team back pretty much, but it's an interesting pick. We haven't seen much of it, to be honest with you, but I feel like it worked really well for Absolute Cinema in there. It was so difficult to take out. They couldn't dominate that basement lane like we've seen teams do so well because of how difficult it is to take down that Ho-Oh.
That's absolutely right. And I wonder whether they could bring it in the next game. I mean, it's kind of like I always like to think Ho as like the father version of Talonflame, and having them both on the one team is quite a funny experience. Regardless, though, it does seem like Sanguine has been changing it up, trying to see whether they can actually combat what Absolute Cinema is throwing. They're not too keen on that many speedsters on their team, but they do still have, you know, one rare one whenever they get the chance. Regardless, like the meta shift has been so fast, right? And these teams, some of them may not play the speedsters that have been buffed. So it's all about trying out the counters if they can in today's grassroots tournament. So we're going to head on into this final game of our round number 6 of the Winter Showdown, brought to you by Unity Clash. Tano, instantly, Absolute Cinema doesn't even want to play Talonflame anymore. They're like, you know what? It's time to play another Speedster, but we're going to make sure Sanguine doesn't play it.
Yeah, I mean, it's valid, isn't it? Both teams are recognizing how much of a threat that Pokemon really is in this game right now. Are they going to see some more? Gengar also gets banned out by Sanguine. They feel like, no, we don't want to be taking that on. Absolute Cinema with really sensible bans here. Blissey and Umbreon getting taken out of this game as well.
Yeah, it's double species taken out, but still the classic Blissey Umbreon ban. So Psyduck is available for Tai if they are looking for that. I think it's probably one of the better picks here, apart from Snorlax. But Absol is going to be locked in, so I guess we don't know what we're talking about here, because that is the species that has let out of ban jail. But now surely we do anticipate a Snorlax to come through, right? It's just too good not to take, and I guess Psyduck is the other one. And they will be able to take that in with Leon picking up the Aegislash.
Does mean that TVPR does have access to this Snorlax. They're going to lock that in straight away. They've been doing really well on that defender, to be honest, too, and it's worked really well for their team. Zacian is also going to come out to play. Descauto not able to get that Aegislash, so they're going to go for the other massive sword, being that Zacian.
Zacian is going to be a great shout, especially for a intense game number 3, right? Sometimes when it comes to the secure, it's always good to have Pokemons that can help with that, and obviously on the side of Absolute Cinema, it's going to be that coup de grace. Aaron now picking up a species of their own with the Masquerada, and Nilt with a Goodra is very interesting. I mean, it does provide the gooey effect, kind of slow down enemies, and maybe it's a hard tank to kind of take down, but does it do anything into something like a Snorlax or a Zacian? What do you think?
What I will say is that obviously I've played a lot of Absol. Probably it's my most played mon in Pokemon Unite. And Muddy Water Goodra has actually been quite difficult to come up against since the patch update, Foo. So maybe Nils has actually worked out how effective that could be on an Absol specifically. So we'll have to keep a close eye on that one, buddy. Not Dodo is going to take the Mimikyu as well. We have been seeing that utilized with the Trick Room. Let's see whether Not Dodo decides to go for that. Of course, they are going to have a little bit of melee coming their way, but Electro Drift Miraidon, do you think?
It has to be, right? I mean, there's just like no other way you can survive on charge being Miraidon here. We got a Mimikyu running at you. We got Masquerada and also the sword if you get too close. And worst comes to worst, the Duck is going to be able to get you with the Psychic. I mean, with the Electro Drift, at least you have a way out. That's why I presume. But, you know, we'll be able to see what they get up to as we head into this last final game. I'm very keen. The fact that it is, I know it's getting really late for you, but having a Game 3 scenario in the final round when it matters so much to both these teams, it is a great way to bring entertainment, I think, for everyone.
Listen, I love Pokemon Unite so much that I'm actually going to be going to bed after this and getting up in 5 hours to cast another tournament, mate. So, you know, that's how much we love this game. And
all pro bono, mate. All pro bono.
That's how much we love this game. We make sure that it has the viewing that it needs. Here we go, though. We're going to be heading into this game. It's going to be the final game of the day, I believe, and it depends. Sanguine there on your purple side, Absolute Cinema on your orange side. If Sanguine lose this one, they're not going to be heading into the finals tomorrow.
No, they're not. So high stakes for both these teams, as Not Dodo will be taking the central area with that Mimikyu, and Absol will do the same for Sanguine. So they're going to go through now. We've got the Psyduck just to help out to make sure that the Sableye doesn't get any funny ideas, and we're going to have actually a huge secure from NVIDIA. They're going to be able to get the 10 in with the score shield as well, and what a way to send a message out, especially the fact that you can actually steal farm and points from the enemy team with your initial thief ability.
I like it, buddy. NVIDIA's just feeling like they're in the 500 point mode, right? Got that score shield on. They're on the same line. They're just going to rain in points all game. Really cheeky, funny ideas coming out from NVIDIA there. And we do see, of course, Absol rains on in. Ganon, they were able to take down one with the Zacian. Can they take down the second one? Yes, they can. This is not the start of this game that Absolute Cinema want to have.
No, absolutely not. We actually have not Dodo picking the Shadow Claw to actually ambush the bottom path. And speaking of ambushing, here comes Sableye as well. Nvidia wanting to get both these paths ahead and a nice little stun, but however, will get down and knocked out by the Shadow Claw. We'll be able to find that KO. Meanwhile, we have a little Gumi running at the Miraidon, knowing it's got its bubble ready to go, just not enough. And actually, it's a charge being Miraidon, so I'm so curious to see how they're going to be able to live some of these interactions, because in my mind, there's going to be no mobility going up into 3 people running at you.
No, and I did notice that they have the spoon, but they also have the anti-heal on the Miraidon for the charge beam. Maybe that's to try and target the Gudra or something like that. I'm not sure, but I'm with you, buddy. They're not going to have an easy day, but Absolute Cinema have managed to at least put some points finally into this T1 goal. We're now at 63 to 10 points on the board, but Ganon is going to do what Absol does best. They're going to come into this lane and just annihilate anybody they see.
Yeah, just the power of Absol in the early game is so strong. Very easy to snowball as well. And speaking of snowballing, a lot of experience now afforded onto the side of Sanguine. All those birds for free, and Psyduck has to quickly back away because of that. And I think looking at the draft that Absol Cinema has, it does take a while for them to actually truly come online, as opposed to something like Izasha and Absol early game. So yet again, it's about holding on, isn't it? To the rope that is your pads, and making sure that they maybe don't break that early on, or if they do break, making sure that you soak up all those wild Pokemons on the side.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. We do have this central farm spawning now. Daddy Leon trying to see if they can grab that. The Midnight Slash comes out. It drops a huge amount of damage onto Aegislash, and they do eventually fall with the backup of that Absol there. Miraidon managing to cook in that basement lane as well, taking out the Masquerada. Nvidia trying to see if they can cause some distraction here onto this top pad, and Absol just cleans up the rest of them. Pair that with the Zacian, and it's too much for Absolute Cinema to try and answer with here.
It's a little bit too hard, and in the bottom part, things don't look good for Absolute Cinema either. Regirock will go on the side of Sanguine uncontested. I do think that it's back to capturing some of these wild Pokemons, at least for the Mimikyu, because they know they can one-shot the Absol if they have the Play With Me available, considering the fact that they are going to be playing that Shadow Sneak as well. So they just need to be able to lock on and quickly pop that Unite move to gain all that experience back. Leon getting sent back in as Sanguine tries to push this pad. The Meteor Storm will come through. Will we see a bright future, though? Where's the Play With Me locking onto the Absol, but it's not going to be good enough as to get shut down by the Miraidon. No one's looking at the Miraidon so far, and this is a great time if you're going to be a backline attacker, because all you have to do is stay in the backline and dish out the damage, which it is great for. And with a K-Streak of 2, the Regieleki will walk in, and voila! The top pad is gone for both the tiers, and this is not a great position for Absolute Cinema to be in.
Oh, the Thunder takes down Psyduck as well. Scout with an absolutely massive Sovereign Sword during that battle there, Fu. Made the difference for their team. We do have not Dodo managing to pop down onto Zacian. They do take down that KO, so a good amount of experience for them. But as we've mentioned, of course, Absolute Cinema are definitely in more of a later stage fight here, right? They do need to, they finally got Gudra on the field. They're definitely more of a later stage Pokemons that they have. Can they push this T1 pad? No, Absol just deletes Mimikyu, and even this Gudra is not having a good day against Ganon. Can they continue to take more KOs? Yes, they can. It's a triple KO there, Fu.
Say though, for the fact that Midnight Slash isn't really connecting well, they are able to pick up a lot of these KOs with its Night Slash moveset. So big shout out to them, because they are level 13 now, and we haven't even hit the 5-minute mark. That is an incredible level, and you're gonna be very careful now, right? If you're gonna be Ganon, because we have a lot of now Pokemon's having their Unite moves on the side of Absolute Cinema. If they get caught out in any of them, that's gonna be a straight bit of experience going on their side of Absolute Cinema, and that's not really what you want, considering you have such a big points lead.
Ooh, okay, Reggie's still here in this basement lane. They're going to be able to push onto it, uncontested. Ganon is there, but they're too busy trying to deal with the Gudra, and they deal with it very quickly. Reggie still to the side of Absolute Cinema as well. Zacian has managed to lock in the Regieleki in that top lane. Luigi is going to throw themselves a cheeky little headache. And now they're going to be able to push this. I feel like maybe retreating might be the right call here, Fu. There's the Fleural Flourish coming out from Masquerada. It seems like they want to continue to push. Mimikyu is in the flux zone, but the block and the power nap is now going to come out from Snorlax. Huge defense from Sanguine here. I'm not sure whether Absolute Cinema has got enough out of this.
Oh, I don't think so, but we do have the Mimikyu trying the best with the Shadow Claw to get sustained, the coup de grace to knock them up, maybe get a KO if they can. They do actually find that KO before going down, so that will send the Aegislash into that level 12 territory, while they defend this Regieleki from walking in. There is going to be a third one, I think, that's my understanding, but looking at the levels from that fight, you can see double level 12s now, triple level 12s actually for Absolute Cinema, so definitely value, even though they weren't able to break any pads.
Yeah, I stand corrected. Absolute Cinema have found a way to get themselves into this game. We have 271 to 32 on the board, but as we know, final stretch, it doesn't really matter that much until you have 500 points advantage to your team. We are going to see Absolute Cinema soak up every piece of experience they possibly can here, while Nvidia wants to continue to push and score some points. They know Daddy Leon is there, and 14 might be a bit too ambitious at that moment. We do see Niels trying to see if they can put some pressure onto Ganon here on the Absol, but they get half of their health deleted instantly with that Psycho Cut there, Fu.
Oh, just managed to escape the Psychic, but not going to be able to escape the damage coming out from the Masquerada to knock them out. Sableye going back in just before the Rayquaza will spawn very, very soon. There seems like to be one last push now. Maybe an early Rayquaza fight coming out from Absolute Cinema, depending on the choice they will make. There is going to be that final Reggie in the bottom here, but it's very tough to fight a team with their pads still up because of the healing it can provide. It does seem like a smarter choice is to run at this Regieleki, considering they don't have a T2 is Absolute Cinema, and they're going to be sending all 5 members up top just to ensure that there's not going to be this problem going in. It's going to be another Registeel here, Tano.
Wow, Registeel, they are giving us a show for sure. They did take the win condition away from Sanguine. That's what they want. Now they can score some points in, of course. They just want to break it. Despite waiting for the 2-minute mark, Nvidia goes on in with the stuns. Oh my god, they've deleted Mimikyu here, Fu. They're going to go for more. Zacian trying to see if they can find another KO. They dive in onto the Aegislash. Daddy Leon falls. Oh my god. Sanguine have deleted 2 heavy carries that Absolute Cinema have. And now Scout wants to rip the Rayquaza.
Now, Scout does not have the Unite move, so perhaps there's an opportunity for a steal coming out from Absolute Cinema. They're trying to stall it as much as possible, as the Psy Unite move will be popped there. In response, we have the Power Nap, but the Rayquaza so low, we didn't even have a look at it, and it gets secured by Sanguine. Miraidon able to lock it in for their team, and they might have just locked in their qualification into tomorrow's Day 2 finals. What an incredible way to fight the Rayquaza fight. They got 2 incredibly strong members out of the 2-minute mark at the start, as you mentioned, and that was really the way to quickly make sure Rayquaza also goes off the map and really lock in those scores and lock in the win.
Really well played, mate. Such a shame for Absolute Cinema. They managed to get themselves back into that game with a really good push in that basement lane, but unfortunately caught out at the wrong moment there by Sanguine. They kind of let them get lucky at that moment and kind of pushed them as they were trying to score those points. Ganon putting in an absolute shift for their team there on the Absol with 13 KOs, and it just feels like that has been the star of the show. If it's not the Absol, it's the Talonflame and Gengar. So difficult for teams to handle for the whole of this tournament.
Yeah, you said it very, very well then. Ganon hitting 35% of the team's damage. Yet again, just full display on the power of the speedsters. So that's going to be a round 6 win for Sanguine. And hopefully the bracket will be updated very, very soon. I think we're just waiting for one more set to finish. But it does seem like there's going to be a better chance of them to stay in the top 8. However, things could still happen with the other teams closer to that mark, so we won't guarantee anything. But regardless, a win is a fantastic way to send off day 1. Remember, 34 teams enter today's competition. Wild way to make a top 8. And I think for all those teams that entered, thank you so much for your participation. But at the end of the day, we are looking for the cream of the crop for tomorrow. And lots of that at stake, I think, for these teams in tomorrow's stream.
Yeah, I mean, let's have a look at the bracket here, Phil. Of course, we are still waiting on that one game, but we can have a look on how that's going to affect things. Looking here, T3 are actually in first position, really putting in a show. Nouns have managed to get themselves into second as well with a fantastic showing. Nemesis are going to take that third spot. Komai Esports have just nipped down to that 4th place. They were second as we came into that set there, Phil.
Oh my god, Aegis Flames have beaten out Barcelona for the final position so far, obviously, like you said, we're still waiting on a set to finish. But to my understanding, that set should not change the seeding anymore due to the fact that they're both not in the top 8 or close to it. But importantly, Drill Peck is just 9, just shy of the qualification, and so is BH3 as well. But it does seem like once it's all gets cemented, Team 3 have taken the top seed there. And that's going to be an important I guess, a bit of information going into tomorrow, right? Because these are going to be the seedings for the bracket, the double elimination bracket tomorrow. So the 1 versus 8, 2 versus 7, etc., etc. And we're going to have a spicy 4v5, which is going to be Komai against Gen 5, a matchup that I think everyone is very excited for.
Yeah, I mean, me as an EU Pokemon Unite player, I'm just glad that we've got so many EU teams there, buddy. Nouns are there, Koma Esports.
It's coming home, mate, like you like to say.
It is coming home, absolutely. The winter tournament is going to be coming to the EU region. I'm calling it now. But yeah, I mean, it's been fantastic being here. Apologies for the technical issues that we've had for stream today. Unfortunately, the gremlins got into our systems, chat, but we've at least been able to put on some great games for you. I hope you've really enjoyed it. That is going to be it for us today, but we do have some shout outs to do, of course. This production wouldn't be possible without these amazing people: Lobo, Speedy, myself and Fu for casting, our producer Peachy, our observers Bina, Ima and Yamin, and the absolute champion admins Smeedy, Mylene, Ima and Bina as well. And cheeky little producer credit there for me as well there, I see Fu.
Yeah, I mean, don't forget, you're doing like a lot of work today, Tano. And for those that don't know, Tano is at the back end also producing this. So it's one thing to cast the games, the other thing to make sure all the other stuff runs smoothly. I think he's done a fantastic job. Hopefully it gets a little bit easier for you tomorrow, Tano, as we head into day number 2. But for now, I think it's been an incredible production. I'm so glad we're able to bring in at least 3 sets for everyone to watch in. And for those all people cheering for both the NA and the EU scene on the teams that we showed today, hopefully everyone had a great, I guess, a watch in terms of the sets. We've got a few game 3s though, so I guess shout out to the teams for bringing us to the distance.
Yeah, 100%. We'll have plenty more action for you tomorrow, so make sure you tune in for that chat. I believe we are going to be raiding out, so let's go send the love to another creator in the Pokemon Unite space. We will be back tomorrow. Have a lovely morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, chat. See you then.